First of all, welcome everybody. We're very excited to have you all here today. I love nothing more than looking out at all of these beautiful faces and of all the fabulous women. And we do have a couple brave men in here, so good for you guys. Some people, like my husband Joe, this is like his heaven. He's more than happy to be in this environment. So I wanted to tell you, first of all, this event started out as a simple spark from our friend and associate Jennifer Sandvos, and it turned into a conversation about how much things like this are needed for all of us, right? Would you guys agree? And it doesn't really matter where you are at in your business right now, whether you're still deciding if you want to get into this crazy business. I know we have a couple of people like that here. Or whether you're trying to figure out how to get out, right? We have people at all levels, and our hope is really to bring something for everybody today. That's our goal, is that there'll be something that you'll be able to take away, something that will help you in your business. And we really want to make sure that we take the time to inspire you to build your own version of success, right? Everybody has their own version of success. And what I do want to express as very important is do not compare yourself, right? Comparing yourself is really cancerous because you're comparing someone else's outsides to your insides. And you don't know what it took for them to get to where they are at right now. So I hope that you'll embrace the comments and the stories and the information you hear and not actually compare yourself to anyone that's up here, okay? So before we get started, I have quite a few people to thank for making this happen today, and then we'll introduce our panel and we'll get started. So first of all, thank you to Jennifer Sandvos, Darcy Stratton, and Cindy Silva, who have all been the biggest cheerleaders and the best people for getting this whole thing put together, right? Thank you, everybody. Yes. Brent is not here, and he did not want to be highlighted, but we're going to anyway since he's not here. So Brent Gove and James Stroop, and of course, Rob. Where's Rob? There's Rob in the back. He's the behind-the-scenes guy who makes us all look good and gets things happen. So thank them so much for being behind the scenes and making this happen. We have a few awesome sponsors. Alicia Blackwood, where are you? Over there in the corner. Awesome. She's here with... There you go. American Dream Wholesale Lenders, right? She's awesome. So Alicia is here, as well as Shannon Hoff with Finance of America. Where's Shannon? She provided these caramel chocolates that are on your seats. We like chocolate. Mark Fletcher with Auburn Moving brought a bunch of the food back there. I don't know where he's hiding somewhere. So where is he? Oh, there he is, hiding in the back. Thank you. Amber Dietrich with Home Warranty of America. Did I say your name right? Chris, I'm not even going to try to say your last name, with Rent Pros. Where are you? He's over there. Zach and Melissa Finley with Finley Inspection Services are here. Stephanie Brubaker with Home Staging. And Faith Knappenberger, with DEA Fitness. And because of all of these generous people here, this event, we were able to make it free. And that's a big thing, right? So let's thank them all for helping make it free. So what I do know to all of you is that giving back is important, not only to our community, but to the people we care about. And so with that today, because we made this free, we are asking for donations for Blue Heart International, who is here to stop sex trafficking, which obviously impacts all of us in some way, place or form, some way. So Blue Heart, are they here? Where are they? And there she is. Awesome. So we are raising money for that. So she has a donation box in the back. We're going to ask you guys to put in whatever you can afford, whether it's $1, $100, $10. She takes checks and cash. I don't know. Do you take credit cards too? She will take credit cards. So anything that you guys can donate to that, we are super appreciative. I will let you guys know we will take a couple restroom breaks, but we're not going to take any long breaks. So if you go in there, go fast. There's not many men here, so we can always lock them out. You can use that one too. But we ask you guys to go when you need to. There's food over there. You can grab food when you need to. We will take a short break around 11:15 or so, like a 10-minute break. But we're going to power through this today and get all the way to 1 o'clock. So I promise you're going to get some great stuff today. If you don't, you can come ask me for a refund of your ticket. And I'll be happy to accommodate you, all right? So, all right, you guys ready? Who's ready to get this party started? Let's go. Come on. All right, we have a beautiful panel up here, do we not? All right. Okay, so this is going to be very casual today. We're going to be asking a lot of different questions, and we also are fine with audience participation. So if any of you guys want to raise your hand when we ask these questions or participate in any way, please feel free to do so. I'm going to turn that microphone on for you. I am going to go through, and we're going to introduce the panel real quick and give them just a couple seconds to talk about themselves and tell us a little bit about their background and where they're from, what company you're with, and that kind of thing. So we will start with Elizabeth Axelgard. Is it on? Here, we'll give you that one for now.
Elizabeth Axelgard with Keller Williams. I've been in real estate for about 11 years and sell in Placer County and Sacramento County, and started in this business after a 20-some-odd year career in the car business.
Wow, awesome, thank you. Jennifer Sandvos, everybody.
Hello. So I've been in the real estate business for about 17 years, and I'm also in the Placer, Sacramento area, a little bit more Placer County. Been married for 23 years and have 6 kids.
Yes.
Oh, and I'm with EXP Realty.
Good morning, y'all. I'm Dana Summers. I think I'm coming up on 15 years in real estate.
And our current president for Placer County Association of Realtors.
So that's my side gig, but I was in tech for 20 years before, so kind of like Elizabeth. I came from a man's world, and now have 10 children because I remarried. Am I crazy?
There you go.
What can I say?
Hi, my name is Mary Bell Perez, and I'm with Keller Williams Realty. This is my 18th year in real estate, and I've been 15 years with Keller Williams. And I have 3 adult children. 2 are married, and I have 4 grandkids, 2
Yes.
from each child.
Grandkids, thank you. Jacqueline Little.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Little with Keller Williams. I've been in real estate for 14 years. I am a single mother. I've got a 19-year-old and a 9-year-old that I've both raised 100% on my own and juggled my full career. So thanks.
Great job. Kate Tustin Klein.
Hi, I'm Kate Tustin Klein. My kids aren't here, so I'm not going to talk about them. I'm a certified commercial investment manager. I've been doing real estate for about 20 years. I'm a broker. I'm the head local listing broker. I may be known as the REO lady of Placer County. That's a little bit. I have a master's degree in business, and real estate is not that hard if you show up and go to work.
Love it.
And that's the message today. I think you guys can all kill it. And I'm a Placer County Superior Court referee, judicial officer. When they part properties and the judge doesn't really want to deal with it, comes to me, so I hope I never see you there.
Me too. Taylor Zapata, and I do want to mention Taylor Zapata. She's very shy and embarrassed, but she just got voted Rising Star by the California Association of Realtors for her first year in real estate. I'm super proud of her. Taylor?
So yes, I am definitely the rookie on this panel, but this is my 18 months in real estate.
It's on.
I just recently capped again. I am married. I have a 4-year-old, and my daughter's turning 3 this month. So I'm.
And you raise, what is it, Frenchies?
Yes, I breed French bulldogs.
Beautiful
well,
dogs.
So I'm running.
This
2
is her
businesses.
husband right here, Zach. He's hard to miss.
You're not busy at all. No.
Victoria Lees.
I'm Victoria Morales.
Oh,
now.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Hi.
New name.
A new name, very recent. Hi, everyone. I've been in real estate. I started in 1986, but really I've been in real estate about 15 years. I'm with EXP, and I have a team called Victoria's Properties. And we really cover about all 4 of the counties. We're kind of spread out. Let's see. I have 3 amazing children, and I'm a new grandma.
Yes.
My favorite.
Grandkids are the best. Mitzi De La Cruz.
Hi, everybody. Mitzi Dela Cruz. I'm with EXP Realty. I have been in the business now. It'll be 6 years in November. And I also have a team, wonderful women, very proud of each and every one of them. And we cover the Placer, Sacramento, Sutter, Yuba areas.
Awesome. Krista Proctor.
Hi there, Krista Proctor. I have 4 kids. My oldest is 19. My baby is 11. And I have I pretend like I have a team. I call myself Krista Proctor and Associates. So it sounds really good. And then I use a lot of people, and I pay for good help. But anyway, well, I'm sure we'll get into more of that. But 6 years, I think I said, right?
Awesome. Thank you. Cindy Silva.
Good morning. I'm Cindy Silva with eXp Realty. I have been in real estate for 5 years. I married my high school sweetheart, and I have 2 young children in elementary school.
Awesome, thank you. Darcy Stratton.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Darcy Stratton. I'm with eXp Realty, and I'm going on my 11th year in real estate. I used to do mortgages for 5 years, and I was also an English teacher. I have 3 little boys, and I live on a ranch in Loomis, and I love country property.
Thank you, awesome. And I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Marguerite Crispello, in case you don't already know who I am. And I've been in real estate 25 years now. I guess I'm the oldest one on the panel. It makes me feel old. 25 years I've been in real estate. And I started out actually doing loans as well. I did loans for about a year and hated it. So God bless our lenders in this room. You guys have an amazing job that I couldn't do. And I started selling real estate and ended up selling 18 houses in my first 6 months and said, I think I like this gig. I had 3 young children under the age of 5 when I started in real estate. And so I have raised my kids in real estate. And so we're going to go through and answer a bunch of questions with our panel. But what I wanted to point out, number one, for those of you who have children, and how many of you actually feel guilty when you leave your kids to go sell real estate or go do something? None of you? Wow, that's pretty amazing. Okay. So for many of us, I know myself, I felt really guilty. And my kids are now 23 and 24. And I remember saying to them one day, so, what was it like being children of a real estate agent? And they go, well, we didn't know any different. So, we're all good. They said, actually, they felt like we were there more than many of the parents who are working a full-time job, who don't have the flexibility of what we have. And so I wanted to also point out that the real estate industry as a whole, 65% of the real estate agents around the world and across the country are women. And exactly. And the truth about that is that we do rule the world, do we not? So we're going to apologize to you men that are here in the room. No, we're not. We're going to tell it like it is. But our goal today is to tell it like it is and to help you see that you can do this if you are not already feeling like you can do it. Because it is one of the only industries that I know of for women, we do not have a glass ceiling. You can be as successful as you want to be or not successful as you want to be. It's 100% up to you. There's no one who tells you you can't do it. There's no one who tells you when you can get a raise or when not get a raise. There's no one who tells you what time you have to be there or not be there. This is your business. And how good your business is a direct reflection of you. And so we're going to talk about a lot of different things today that hopefully will inspire you, again, to build your very own version of success. So I do have a few questions that we will ask the panel to raise their hands. You guys are welcome to as well. Number one, who has been in real estate more than 20 years? Just a couple here. How about 15 years or more? 10 years or more? 5 years or more? Who's been less than 5 years? Wow. Yeah, good for you. Good for you. So how many of you actually have a real estate coach? Good job. How many of you have ever fired a client? Woohoo! Okay, so we're going to go through and ask a few questions. One last one. How many of you have ever asked yourself, why am I in this industry? What the hell was I thinking? Sorry. We're going to try not to use potty words. However, many of us have no filter. And so if you are offended by a potty word, I'm going to apologize in advance. Especially to Brent Gove, who just arrived. Brent, we're happy you're here. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to ask some of the more experienced ones. I'll start with you, Elizabeth. You can grab the microphone. What would you tell your younger self when you first started? What would you tell yourself now when you were a brand new agent? What advice would you give yourself?
Don't wear stilettos to show property with grass.
That.
Always carry toilet paper in your car. And Febreze can be used in your armpits if necessary. So
this is starting out perfect. Perfect.
That's what I'd tell my younger self. The next thing I'd tell my younger self is there is no right way to do this business. there's the way that you choose to do the business. So gather information from all the sources that you can, and then take that information and make it your own. There is no correct way to do this.
Love that. That's awesome. Go ahead, Jennifer. We're not going to necessarily go to everyone, but for some of you have been more experienced. So go ahead.
Same question?
Yep, same question.
Oh, let's see. You're going to actually really love this one. I was very unorganized as a newer agent. Not that I'm that much better now, but I didn't keep a database. I was all about next. I didn't attempt to keep referral business, and now the 86% of my business is referral or word of mouth. And I look at myself every day. I'm like, if I had just done that all the way back then, and I probably only started really working that in the last 3 to 4 years, and it's the stupidest mistake I could have ever made. Like, whatever you do, start a database. There's plenty of free ones out there, and for the love, work it. Like, talk to them, call them. It doesn't have to be real estate related, but that would have completely changed how much income I would have been able to produce for my family had I just done that from the beginning. I'm a little bit of a slow learner.
That's a great point. And so if any of you have heard me speak or not heard me speak, I do talk about Linda Buckmaster, who is my favorite client of all time, who I sold a $50,000 HUD home to in 1997. Her referrals, she has referred 8 people who have referred people who have referred people who have referred people who have referred people. Kind of sounds like an MLM, huh? Or maybe like a, yeah. Basically, the point is it's equated to 65 referrals over $300,000 in commissions in the 20 years since I helped her. So if you guys do not have a database, if you get nothing else out of today, please go home. I don't care which one you set up. Everyone asks which one. It doesn't matter. The one you use is the one that will be the most important. I encourage you not to necessarily use your company one, but because you never know when you're going to make changes or things like that, be in charge of your own database. It's like a bank account for you. And it's vitally important that you manage that database and keep track of it well. So, Maribel, how about you?
Let's see. Well, everything they said, and in addition, I would say just to be confident in yourself, believe in yourself, just serve from your heart. If you serve from your heart, you can't go wrong. Your clients can tell, they can feel it. They don't care if you're new, if they know you're truly serving them. And it has always worked for me because truly, I truly care for each and every client, no matter what their price range is. I'm not picky in that way. I just really always want to serve each client from my heart. And I'm not the most organized individual. I'm not, but...
God doesn't put a salesperson and a manager in the same body, just so y'all know. Yeah.
But that proves that you don't have to be organized. You can always delegate things you're not good at. And the things you are good at, just get better at, because those are your true talents. Everybody has talents. Some are systems and organization, and others, I don't have that skill, but I have others. And just always do the right thing. If you always do the right thing, the money takes care of itself. And
Fantastic.
If you talk to enough people, you're going to run into business. And what else? Just believe in yourself and ask people questions that have been in the business for a while. Take them out to coffee, go pick their brain, attend your office meetings. There's always a little golden nugget. I'm guilty of, now that I've been in the business for a while, I rarely go to my office meetings, and I've been going in lately. I know, shame on me, shame on me. So what I would say to my younger self is, don't stop doing the things that helped you get to where you got.
Perfect. Thank you, Maribel.
So,
I will tell you, Jacqueline's next. I will tell you also that we did actually look up everybody's production before we put them on the panel. And we did that because I personally, here's my no filter, I don't like to go and listen to people get up and speak who haven't done it. And so everybody on this panel is a Masters Club or better member and has done significant production in their career.
So if you want off regular MLS, not to toot my own horn, actually doesn't have my Bay Area properties or my off-market stuff. So,
well, everybody up here is a bad. So there you
that's
go.
right. That's right. The one thing I want to have to say is because I was a waitress. I was working 3 waitressing jobs when I decided to get into real estate, just so I could pay for my son's daycare. And believe in yourself. Know that you can do it. I kept waitressing when I was doing real estate and trying to do both. I had to cut the cord. And the first year that I cut the cord as my first year in Masters Club. and that was quite a few years ago. So just trust in yourself and know that you can do it. It's not easy. It's hard. You're going to want to cry. Sometimes you will. But if you just keep believing in yourself and keep going, you'll get there. And the one thing I've really learned, too, is don't chase checks. Chase relationships, because that's where you're going to get your referrals. Just like Marguerite, I have one client that's probably giving me 20% of my business based off the referrals and referral. And it's just the relationships. That's what I say.
Awesome. Thank you, Jacqueline. Kate? You always have to worry when you call on Kate because you never know what she's going to say.
Buyers cost you time, listings cost you money.
Oh, good one. Yeah.
You can maybe manage 5 buyers at a time. I've personally managed over 150 listings at one time. You can do it. So just remember that. Do you want to be a buyer's agent or do you want to be a listing agent? And you'll get to a point in your career where you really kind of do both, but make sure that you focus on that. The other thing is read your real estate license. What's it say? You are a real estate salesperson. Don't forget for 1 second that you're in sales, people. That's what you do. And if you go into real estate and you're having a tough time, take a class with Stephen Covey. Read the Dale Carnegie book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You need to close that deal, you need to ask for the business, and you need to learn how to do sales. Because I'm going to tell you something. I was a waitress too for a long time in college. I went to college for 8 years. No, I'm not a doctor.
She does have an MBA, however.
I do have an MBA. But I'll tell you what, it's not very different from getting somebody to add those jalapeno poppers to raise that price as it is in real estate. You've done sales. You've done it all your life. Remember that. You're doing that. And remember, it is about the money. It is. In the downturn, I had 2 kids. I was divorced. My husband left with my former best friend. I always have to say that. People are like, you still best friend? I'm like, no, ma'am. I let that one go. There was a lot of applicants. It was good. And I thought about getting a job because I had to support these 2 kids. And within 6 months or 8 months, in my very worst year in real estate, I had made $65,000. And I sat there looking at these jobs and looking at taking care of my kids, and there wasn't one job out there available. First of all, nobody was going to touch a realtor at that time in 2008. But I looked really hard, and there wasn't one job out there that was going to make more money. Not one, even in my very worst year. I had a newer agent the other day who said, oh man, I'm just not making very much money. And I'm like, really? How much you make this year? She goes, $85,000. I'm like, boo. I said, I saw you at every soccer game this summer. You took 6 trips. You went to Hawaii for 2 weeks. Name one job that you could get that's going to pay you that, and you can have that kind of freedom.
Exactly.
So on the day that you think you're going to give up, I want you to take a little look on Craigslist or the paper or Indeed. Think about what your alternatives are. Go to bed, get up early, and get to work.
Thank you, Kate. There you go. Hang on, Taylor's trying to let me skip her, and she's only been 18 months, but I do have a quick question for you, and then we'll move on. So my question for you, Taylor, is what part of real estate did you not expect when you got in? So you got into real estate, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea it was like this. Can you think of something real quick? No?
I was a mobile notary before, so I was already working a lot, 7 days a week, so I was used to that, but now I was doing well, and I wanted to do more than that, so now my income has, gone insane. Still working that 7 days a week, but with just a different career in real estate.
We're working on her. We're going to teach her a few lessons. She's doing
got to
great.
stop the 7 days a week.
Yeah, exactly. Victoria, tell us.
Everybody does that, right? No, everybody starts that way. I think that's one of the biggest things I learned. Everybody starts. We want to just spend all our time getting in the business. And I think with technology right now, there's so much information. And my girls will come in, have you heard of this? Have you heard of that? We should do this. My biggest advice, I think, to everyone is to be intentional. Pick 3 things that you know you really like to do in real estate and do it well. If you're going to take a weekend off to do an open house, start it on Monday. Get the call list. Don't just show up on Saturday, put your signs out, and hope it happens. And then your follow-up after that. So, I mean, I love all those shiny things too. But
You know, with regards to open house, I want to point out something that I actually learned from Brent back there is that, you know, as agents, we complain that we don't get much out of an open house or there's a problem. And Brent's like, well, first of all, here's how the typical agent does an open house. They do nothing prior to the event. They show up 10 minutes to 1 o'clock, put a couple signs out, 1 or 2 signs out. They sit there for 2 or 3 hours, and then they go home. And they wonder why they didn't get any business. How many of you have worked a job, a regular job, where you could put in that short amount of time and be making the kind of money you're making? You can't. So you have to put in the effort. And it's the thing that I love to say is if you wanted to make $100,000 a year, now some of these guys, most of these ladies make way more than that. But if you wanted to make $100,000 a year and you had to write yourself a check at the end of the month, you're the boss of you, remember? You had to write yourself a check for $8,333. Have you done the work in the previous month that warrants you writing yourself a check for that amount? If you didn't, then you can't complain when you don't make the amount of money that you want to make, right? So you have to really look at where you are and what you want to do in your business. So Mitzi, let's go to you.
So that's actually perfect, a perfect lean into what I was going to talk about. So for me, I think one of the biggest epiphanies right up front is that there's nobody calling to check in with you. You guys are all independent contractors, regardless of whether or not you show up to your office meetings or you show up to trainings or you know, further your education with books or any of those things. That's all up to you. So if you think you're just going to get a stack of business cards, pass them out, and the phone's going to ring off the hook, that's not how it works. That's what I thought when I first got into business. I was just going to let everybody know I was in real estate, and the phone was going to ring off the hook. But I didn't really understand that this is a very saturated business, number one. And number two, the fact of the matter is you are an employee of yourself. So, you know, I have employees. I've employed a couple different people, and I'll tell you, if I had an employee that behaved the way that I did at the beginning of my career, I would have fired that person. So for me, it was just becoming very intentional with figuring out that I needed to come in, do the work, have the structure to get the results that I wanted. So that was one of the first things. One of the other things that I'm surprised no one's mentioned so far is when you do start to see your business turn to where you're actually making some good income, just really being intentional early on with talking to a CPA, a tax professional, because you need to figure out how to structure your business either with an S corporation or an LLC or whatever it is that you need to do for your business, because otherwise you are going to have a good year or a couple good years. You're going to get that IRS letter and you're going to be really surprised. So it's going to be
that's a great point, because the number one industry is that owes money to IRS or real estate agents. So if you have not learned how to set some money aside, because it's really exciting, right? You get a $10,000 check and you're like, woohoo, I'm going to go spend it all. You forget that actually $2,500 or more of that should be going to IRS, right? So learning how to manage your money, I would say, is a huge, huge tip. Krista?
I think that in the beginning, I had the good fortune to partner with a world-class mentor, Brent, Gove in the back. And I think too many people, I think you're selling yourself short when you don't do that early on. I mean, very few people can succeed early on without that. But when I first started, I'd go to my classes each week that our broker offered, and fellow friends would say, why are you partnering with somebody? Why are you giving somebody a split of your hard-earned business? And I said, I'd rather have a percentage of something than 100% of nothing. And so that year, my first year, it took me a while, like 6 months to get my first deal in escrow, but I closed 15 before my first year was up. And it's because I was able to go at I was able to take quantum leaps. You know, I didn't know what I was doing, and I could pretend pretty well. Like, if you're good at sales, you can dance. You could do a good song and a dance. And then I'd run back to Brent and say, okay, I have this. What do I do next? And so I called him my easy button. But I just encourage any of you, if you're new, because that was a question, right? What to do when you're new. That was, I think, the number one best thing I ever did for my getting started.
Fantastic. Cindy?
I would just say is, for all the new agents out there, it isn't easy. You do have to get out there and hustle. I think the hardest thing for me is when I started both my girls, I was a stay-at-home mom and my girls were in preschool. So I had a lot of guilt for me working 7 days a week. But you've got to do it, girls. You got to get out there and hustle real hard, because that day comes when you realize it's all worth it and you no longer have any debt in your life. And like you said, you could go on vacations for 2 weeks and you're not worried about spending money on that. That's what makes it worth it. So, don't let the guilt of, taking time away from your family bother you. It's just for a little while. It may be only a year, it may be 2 years, but after that, it's so worth it. So it's okay.
Great. Darcy?
So I would have told myself, I would have given myself a little more grace, because the beginning, you are so fearful because you feel like you know nothing, you're going to do these people disservice. Well, actually, you're a pretty darn good agent in the beginning, because you are hustling and you're there more for your clients than probably the rest of us that are super busy. So it's okay if you make mistakes. It's okay if you get turned in by MLS. I say, good job. That means that you are taking risks, and that's
No one from
phenomenal.
MetroList is here, right?
Sorry, Dane, I'm so sorry. We'll pay that. We'll pay that fine. But I feel like that is showing that you are not afraid, that you're willing to go for it. And I got my first deal from an open house. It was a doctor's wife. And I started when it was all foreclosures and short sales. And I'm like, we're going to get the bank to fix everything for you. Banks don't fix anything. I found that out. I was like, oh, problem. I know a really good contractor. I'm so sorry. But we got a credit, and we made it through, and it was phenomenal. And I was so upset about that. But it's okay. I still got our credits, and I just need to give yourself grace. It's okay. And have someone there to help you.
Love it. Awesome. So I found this quote, and this is one of my favorites. It says, what is the secret of success? Right decisions. How do you make right decisions? Experience. How do you gain experience? Wrong decisions. So that actually leads me into the next question, is what has been your biggest struggle in real estate? We'll start with you. Behind you. Yep. You, Elizabeth.
I struggle every day. The market is like my weight. It goes up and down. So so you have to focus on being on all the time. And sometimes I just want to go home, lay on the sofa, drink wine, and watch Justified, which I did last night. So, but you have to, I think grace is a good piece of this puzzle. You have to forgive yourself if you don't feel like you're all in for that day, for that moment. But I think it comes down to just getting up and starting again and putting your best foot forward. And don't believe two things. There is no such thing as multitasking. It's not possible. So you have to do each thing, one thing at a time, and give it your best at that moment. And then there is no such thing as balance. I'm sorry. I've tried to find balance, and it's just not out there. I'm looking, and it's not there. So just know that you can't be balanced, but you can be purposeful and be focused on one thing at a time, and that in itself gives you balance.
Perfect. Thank you, Jennifer.
Wait, now you have to repeat the question. I was so into what Elizabeth was saying.
What has been your
what do I
biggest struggle
with
in
the
real
most?
estate?
Oh, man. Oh, that's a good one. I would say my biggest struggle is behaving. That's not it. No filter. I always behave. I'm always proper. I'm always professional.
Wrong, not.
Okay. I would say my biggest struggle is probably, which is funny because of what you just said, is probably balance. I have a husband. I have 6 kids. We homeschooled for 14 years, and I just this year put my youngest three in regular school. Sorry, I lose track sometimes. And it's hard, though, trying to balance everything out. And I learned in my early years that, when I'm going to go date my husband, I need to put the phone away. And when I'm going to go do something with my kids, the phone is away. Because it's much easier to find that being able to compartmentalize things and balance it out better if I ditch the phone. Because I'm just too OCD about I want to be able to answer my clients quickly. I cannot stand just sitting back and waiting because I want to be on it. So I've found that for me, putting that away and just what would be my other biggest struggle? I don't know. That in the organizing thing is if you go in my office, everything's in piles and there are sticky notes everywhere. I have a ginormous yellow sticky pad and I will write stuff on it, and sometimes I need to remind myself of things, whatever it may be, whatever is speaking to me at that moment, and I just have stuff everywhere and piles everywhere, but I know where everything is, so if anybody touches it, I'm in so much trouble, and that has never changed in my entire 17 years. I probably should figure it out. I do have a filing cabinet, I just don't use it very well.
How many of you struggle just sitting here today and not looking at your phone when it buzzes or texts or, right? Like, this is a common thing. Like, it's worse than crack, right? I don't personally have experience with crack, but but from what I see of the toothless people around, it's got to be a problem, right? So, you know, the reality is that you do have to somehow make it a point to break that addiction in some possible way, because at the end of the day, what is most important is what's right in front of you, not necessarily what you're spending a lot of time wasting on the phone. So,
one thing I just wanted to add is forgive yourself. That's the one thing. As women, we're our harshest critics. So don't be afraid to look in the mirror and say, okay, I'm starting over today. Even if you just said that 15 minutes prior. Don't be afraid to forgive yourself repeatedly.
That's a great point. And so something to think about is I want you guys to all pretend for a moment that the voice inside your head is somebody that you don't like. Name that person. I don't want to say name because I don't want anyone in here to think it's them. But pretend that that person is, person B, and that person is talking to you nonstop. If that person were a human being sitting next to you right now, how long would you sit next to the person that's talking inside your head? Most of you would get up and scoot away as fast as you could, right? So stop that voice inside of your head that's telling you all the reasons why it won't work, what's wrong with you, you suck as a mom, you should have done this, your kids are going to hate you, or that agent is better than me, or any of that. Take all of that stuff, because every single person I know on this panel, and definitely the ones in the room, you have all gone through that daily battle of what you're telling yourself, and most of it, it's not true. There's nothing good going on up in your head. I promise you that. Okay? Dana, what would you say has been your biggest struggle?
Saying no. Saying no is a huge struggle in this business because it's all shiny and pretty and fun. But you have to find your highest and best use of your time, and that's where you spend it. And for me, it's definitely not doing paperwork because I am not a paperwork genius. I am highest and best use in front of clients and friends and networking. However, again, there comes the no. You have to learn when to say no so that you balance yourself and you don't pass out and wear out. This is a phenomenal business to be in. We all have to check our egos at the door, and that includes your own ego for yourself saying no. So no is tough. And then secondarily is my biggest goal is always making each client feel like they're the only one. I've always worked by referral, 100% work by referral. About a year and a half ago, I was counseled to try to do a lot more cool business. And guess what I found out? I like to work by referral. Money's not important enough for me to discount my clients' time, so I take the time to spend with vendors and clients and as many people as I can, but saying no is really difficult because I love everybody. So, especially Jen, especially when she's bad. So anyway, I would say just what Elizabeth said, give yourself a break, learn how to say no, check your ego at the door, guys. This is not a business of egos. If your ego is bigger than what you're doing, you're not going to succeed long term. You might look like a rock star for 5 minutes, but ask people for help, and that's what I mean by checking your ego. Be someone who asks for help, because if you don't ask for help and you fail, it takes longer to really achieve that success that you want for yourself.
That's a huge point, because I can tell you that personally in my 25 years, just about every single person on this panel I have had conversations with where I have either asked them for help and they've stepped right up, or that they have asked me for help. And what I find is that none of them have ever said no to me, ever. Nor have I ever said no to anyone that called and asked for help. You know, a lot of people, a lot of times we're like, oh, I don't want to bother them because they're too busy. And the best story that I came up with recently is I want you guys all to imagine for a moment you have a buyer that you've been working with for about 3 or 4 months. You've shown them probably 25 or 30 properties. and Monday comes around and you give them a call and you say, hey, I'm just calling to check in. Did you see anything over the weekend? And they said, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I went into an open house on Saturday, fell in love with it, and I wrote up an offer. I didn't want to call you because I know how busy you are. This is happening, you guys, with not only with your clients, but any of these people who are more than willing to step in and help you at any time. And if you have a question or a concern or you need help with something, I've never had one of them say, no, I'm not available, I can't help you, or no, you work for a different company, so I'm not willing to support you or encourage you. I've never had that happen, and I know I can say that all of you agree with that. Awesome. Maribel, what has been your biggest struggle?
For myself, I would say time blocking and lead generating. So if I can go back to my younger self once again, I would say lead generate, time block. And stick to your schedule and really treat your business, like Mitzi was saying, treat your business like a business, because we are self-employed and because we don't have a boss that we're accountable to. We take ourselves off the hook. So I can easily get distracted. And time blocking for sure. Time blocking and sticking to a schedule.
Wonderful, thank you.
And I would say it's. If I could go back also, I would have done a lot of things to just help me stay focused, like with daily affirmations or something like that. I've been doing it lately, and this is my 18th year, and I just started this 2 months ago. Not even 2 months ago, maybe like 3 weeks ago. And it's made a huge difference in my mindset. And I'm doing it not just in business, in other areas of my life. And I've heard it for 18 years. I've been hearing about affirmations, blah, blah, blah. I've heard it, and I've never done it. And it's really life-changing. So I recommend, no matter if you're new or a veteran in the business, do your affirmations.
Awesome. Jacqueline?
Everything these gals all said is pretty much it, the balance. I still struggle with turning off. I just don't. My clients can call me at 11 o'clock. Even if I had a couple glasses of wine, I still answer. And I still have, I've written up.
Don't negotiate deals when you're drinking wine, FYI.
Actually, that's the truth. Yeah, never mind. Notice. I'm not going to talk about that. The other thing is, take care of yourself. Do things for yourself. I'm saying that because I still don't. I'm really, really bad about time blocking and doing things for myself and taking the time to invest back into myself. And I'm just now really trying to work on that. And it's hard because I'm like, well, if I want to go get my hair, that's like 3 hours. I could be out showing property and generating more income and working and making everybody happy. So try to take the time and also give back to yourself. So.
Awesome. Kate?
Well, I own my own brokerage, and the second you say that, people are like, so what's my discount? You are not cheap, and do not discount yourself because your services are worth it. If they're not worth it, learn to make them worth it.
Yeah, I've found that every time, doesn't it seem like my attorney says no good deed goes unpunished, right?
The second they ask you for the discount, translate that into what it means. How deep is this pocket, and how much further can I go during this deal? That's exactly what they're going to do. The second that you break, and everything that you do, think about it. Who are you asking a discount for, and what are they asking? And if they want a discount brokerage, they can go get one. That's fine. The results speak for themselves, which are not that great. The other thing is, let your clients be adults. I always feel like, in the beginning, I had to learn some tact, which you guys probably already are guessing. That's my challenge. But that's all right. I went into this, I was selling a lot of houses up on the hill up there on Sierra College, and I was super proud of myself. And I walked into this house, and this guy had the interior bright yellow, and he was, I don't know what, people who love Disney, is there like a name for it? Like Disney Rama-aholics? So I walk into this room, and granted, I've been in these houses. I know how spectacular they are. And there is every version of Tinkerbell ever made, from macaroni noodle to add a wire in this dude's house, in this room. This one, and I'm listening, and I'm like, oh my God, you should see a doctor. Right? And I look at him, and I go, this stuff has to go. And it would have been like, your kid is the ugliest kid I've ever seen. You would have thought that's what I said to him. And I have to remember, and I immediately stopped and looked at his face, and I was like, and it was all these things that came at me. This thing's at $675. That's a commission to $1,400. Everybody's going to ask why you didn't get this deal. Kate, think. So I look at him and I go, these things are far too precious for any small child to come in and take. And my God, this might be your retirement here if we don't box this up. People typically don't take things from listings, but my Lord, this is begging some 4-year-old girl to stuff her pockets. I got the listing and double-ended it. So my biggest challenge, before I speak, and I have no filter, so it's tough, it just vomits right out of me, I have to stop and think, how can I make this a positive? You will walk into houses and they will be horrible.
We've seen some REOs.
I've done REO. They are horrible. And you can't look at somebody and be like, dear Lord, why does this look like a dungeon? You have to look and say, I love it. So my job, I love it. I'm a dungeon myself. I'm creepy too. Call me after my divorce. No. I don't say that most of the times. Anyways, I look at people and I go, there's been so much research done and model homes. There's a trend with them. They're very neutral because this house is fantastic, but we have to let people see themselves in here. So we have to give them the neutrality so they can see, oh, I'm going to put this here. I'm going to put my Disney Rama collection here. It's very important that they can put themselves in this home. So find a way to be kind to people and also let them make bad decisions. I will tell you, during the recession, a lot of people that I had sold homes to that I was like, oh, you're gold, it'll never go down. It's totally worth it. Error. First of all, don't ever say that. Tell them the market fluctuates and it's always an economic result of how the greater economy is doing. But it is something that you have to live in. But I had to forgive myself for people falling apart, calling me, saying, how could you have sold that to me? And I told him, it happened. One thing I can help you do is figure out how to get out of it, get you into something else, and rebuild your credit so that when it comes back, we can buy you the same house for, $300,000 less. It's going to be painful for a couple years. But that's not your fault. When people make a decision to buy a 2-bedroom, 6,000 square foot house overlooking a garbage truck factory, they're into it. I've had people say, I love the noise. I'm from the city. Oh, my God. And I assume that noise or backing up to a 4-way intersection is bad. Remember that your opinion is not everybody else's opinion. Everybody, that house that sits on that corner that's horrid, somebody bought it. Let them, and let the new buyer buy it too, and find a positive way in everything that you sell to make sure that you know what the best aspect of that is.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate. Okay, Taylor, in your 18 months, what's been your biggest struggle?
My biggest struggle is being on the other end of a nasty agent. I have been questioned. I've been doing this, no offense, I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. I'm only 24.
Thanks for pointing that out right now. Thanks.
So I don't.
It wasn't me being rude on the other end, just for the record.
Sorry. But it's hard because everybody's like, well, how do you know? Or how should I trust you? Or, I just went on a listing appointment and they said, how long have you been doing this? 18 months. And they're like, well, we want someone that's got more time or this or that. And then, that doesn't matter how long I've been at it. It's how good I am at it. So that is my biggest struggle.
That's a great saying, yeah. I'll tell you one quick thing that I learned early on is I learned to look up people's production. Because there's nothing more frustrating than having an agent be snippy on the other end who says, I've been doing this longer than you, and you go and look, you say, well, you've only closed 2 houses in 5 years. So maybe you don't have as much experience as you want to put out there. So it does help you many times to see, because a lot of us have a vision of what we think people are doing. And because we're salespeople, we love to brag about what we're doing or not doing. So many times the agents that you think are the big dogs that are doing a ton of business are not doing anywhere near what they claim they're doing. And so it just helps me balance it a little bit and make me feel a little bit more comfortable when I can look up somebody's production. So, okay. We have a public service announcement from Dana Summers.
So raise your hand again if you've only been in the business less than 5 years. Okay. Does everybody look around and see these people? You are their peer. You're here to help them. They need you to help them because someday you're going to be on the other end of their success, and you're going to want that. I had a wonderful team that when I just started without my ego, let me hold their homes open, and I was so blessed to do so. Several years later, they had split. She really went through a hard time, and she was doing my open houses. And now she's back up on the top again. You never know where you're going to be. Be unified, you guys. There is no ego here and no business. Like, we all work for different companies, but love on each other because you never know what's going to be on the other side. PSA.
Great point.
On a side note, if you see a mistake on a contract, I always call and say to the other agent, did you intentionally want to do this? If you did, that's great. I just want to make sure. Or did you mean to not check this box? Or did you mean, there are agents out there that'll be like, yeah, they didn't check this, that. But the reality is it's going to come up later. So be proactive, not reactive. So if you see something that down the pike is going to be a challenge, give them a courtesy call and say, and the agents that tell you, and I get told this, I've been doing this 35 years, honey. Okay. I said, but, if you have a physician and he's been a doctor for 35 years, but he's never gone back for any additional training, is that who you want to work on you if you're, So I think just because you've been doing something a long time doesn't mean you've been doing it right. So don't be afraid. And I'm going to give you a talk track for the new agents out there. When I wrote my first contract, I sat down with my client, Elena Casey, in 2008, Elena Casey, and she's my highest referring client as well. And we sat down, and I had a yellow legal pad next to me, and we started to write the offer, and she looked at me and she said, Elizabeth? And I said, yeah. And she goes, is this your first deal? I said, yes, it is, but I have this legal pad here, and if we have any questions, just so you know, I'm surrounded by 300 years of experience here in my office, and I'm more than happy to jump up and get any questions answered. So what would you like to offer on the home? So don't be afraid to collect yourself and give a response and let them know that you have people around you that can give you the answer if you don't have it. And I don't have the answer to everything. I use that line all the time. Oh gosh, I've never heard that before. Let me find out. I'll get right back to you. Don't make something up. Don't ever make something up, and don't ever say something definitively because you don't know what you don't know. But don't be afraid to ask, and don't be afraid to tell people.
I will tell you, we're going to pass it back to Victoria over there, but I will tell you that what I've learned is that the most successful people on the planet ask for help. And they're more than willing to step in and ask someone for help, ask someone for advice, and find a way to do something better. And that sometimes requires stepping out of your own ego, right? Because you don't want to look stupid or uncomfortable or anything like that, but to get in there and ask for help. And the second little bit of sage advice I will give you is, again, the most successful people are the agents who make the big call, and the big call is the one you don't want to make. And the faster you make it, the more successful you will be, because tormenting yourself for 2 or 3 days over calling somebody is not worth it, ever. So, yeah, make the call quick and get it, like, rip off the Band-Aid. And if that negative call is you have to tell them their deal fell out or something went wrong or an expense came up or a repair or something, I encourage you to make that call sooner rather than later. So, Victoria?
Okay, biggest struggle, and I think I just fixed this a couple of years ago, or I'm working on it. So, when you first start real estate, you're so excited, and you finally have a deal in escrow, maybe 1 or 2, and you're running around, you're trying to do everything for your clients and, doing things you shouldn't do, and then all of a sudden the deal closed, and you go, there's nothing now. So my biggest thing, we have a couple new girls on our team, and so I've tried to help them have good habits. So we do what's called 61 points a day. And even though you've got 3 deals going, you're super crazy busy, you're a single mom, we still try to hit. Prospecting is always first. Those phone calls are always first. If you have an inspection, put it after your prospecting. Stick to your calendar. And the first time we made it kind of mandatory, we did like a challenge, and now it's just becoming habit for the girls. So I've decided they're doing really well. Maybe I should copy it. So now I'm doing it. But anyway, just really keep the prospecting so you're not the roller coaster agent.
Fantastic. Mitzi?
So I still struggle with this, and I think that a lot of you can relate, and that is not letting my clients run my calendar and allowing my family to feel that they are the most important thing to me. And for me, that is the one thing that will just bring me to my knees is my family, and everything that I do is for them. So, like hearing my husband last night call or night before last call me and say that my 3-year-old hadn't had dinner because my oldest daughter, who should have been in charge of that, picked her up and everybody had already eaten. And so when he got home from work, she says, "Daddy, I'm hungry." And, it's heartbreaking.
Mitzi has 9 children, just so y'all know. 9. Yeah.
Yeah. Just only 7 at home. But,
yeah, 6 of them are her own. The other 3, they are a blended family, but they have 9 children.
But yeah, I mean, and like I said, almost 6 years in the business, and it's still something that that is a struggle. But, at the end of the day, I check in with all of my children individually. I just took my 10-year-old daughter on a trip to Oregon. We flew out to Eugene and drove over to Grants Pass and then down to Shelter Cove on the Lost Coast and wound down and spent that one-on-one time with her. And yeah, I've done that with all of the children individually and then, in groups and things like that. And that's the thing, is just allowing myself that grace to know that everything that I do is for them, and so not to get so caught up in seeing other moms that it looks like they're all together and they're at every soccer game and they're at every theater rehearsal or all of these things, and just knowing that I am ultimately doing the best job that I can do for my family.
So I have a voicemail that I saved from when my son John, who's now 23, was about 5 years old. And it's a voicemail that says, "Mom, you promised you were going to be home. Mom, we were supposed to go to the movie at 4 o'clock and you're not here. Are you going to be coming home, Mom?" So whenever I get caught up in my stuff, right, I try to play that video. It makes me cry every time. Because he's now 23, he's now 6'2", and then they're now not wanting to hang out with you, right? Like, when he moved out, I had a big old panic attack. I don't know for those of you who are empty nesters, but I did not handle it well. Some people are like, "Woo, can't wait for you to get out." I was like a basket case. And I would call him and text him every day. Finally, he's like, "Mom, you're like a crazy ex-girlfriend. Like, knock it off." So I've had to relax a little bit on my boys. So, Krista, what's been your greatest struggle?
I think the greatest struggle that I was able to overcome finally, I think 3 years in, was emotionally detaching from my client's outcome. And you get so invested because I think you judge yourself so much. Am I doing a good job? Are they happy? Is this a win-win-win-win-win-win-win? And sometimes the outcome isn't what the client hopes for. I think the only solution to that is have enough clients. Get your pipeline so fat through lead generation, prospecting. And by the way, back to lead gen too, my first year I mentioned I didn't, my first deal didn't go in until 6 months in. I was working that whole time. I was doing open houses literally every Saturday, every Sunday, from October 1st all the way through February 22nd was when my first deal went in. I open houses every week. And Brent used to say, are you enjoying this? I'm like, yeah, it's right. Okay. Well, you're really going to have fun when you start closing deals. And so I was but people who say, well, I tried online leads, it didn't work. I tried open houses, it didn't work. I say, if you haven't consistently done a prospecting thing for a minimum 3 months without wavering, you haven't tried it. So what happens is your pipeline starts to get full enough. I always say yes to every booking request, even if it's a double book and I'm not sure really how I'm going to maneuver it, because sometimes that client, they flake on you anyway. And then you're the one doing them a favor by saying, oh, no problem, yeah, we can surely reschedule. And you're like, thank God, I didn't know how I was going to do that anyway. So, you just let it flow how it is. But there was a deal that went really almost so bad that my lender, who's this bulldog veteran, 30 years, like hugged my business partner the day that it was, whoo, thank God. And Brent, he's like, Krista, what happened on that deal? Jeff Compton hugged me. And it was like so horrible, and I was losing sleep, and that's when I realized I can no longer lose sleep over other people's problems, and that my family has to be my number one client. And so I just stopped. I realized, you know what, in real estate, we're not doing heart transplants. We don't. There's no emergencies in real estate that require same-day attention usually. So I just started texting, hey, yeah, I'm booked for the next whatever. And my voicemail says I'll return your call within 24 hours, and I know it's an emergency. So anyway, I guess
there you go. Thank you. I will say, too, when it comes to appointments, you do not have to necessarily tell them what your appointment is. You just say you have an appointment, right? That's between you. Yeah, I'm booked during that time, right? They don't have to know that you've got a pedicure scheduled or that, you got to go take your kids to baseball. They don't necessarily need to know that, just that you have an appointment that you're booked, right? So, Cindy?
I would say the hardest thing for me was actually learning to say no. I want to please everyone, and I wanted to say yes to everything, but in this business, it will drain you. So I had to learn I do not need to be the president of the PTC. I could be a chairperson. I don't need to be the team mom for every sport that my kid plays, because this is what I used to do and work 100 hours a week. Probably the biggest wake-up call that came to me was 2 years ago from my friend Rick Jiha back there. He looked at me and he's like, you've been working your butt off. What are you doing for fun? I see you go on vacations. When was the last time you and your husband went out on a date? And I sat there and I thought about it, and I hadn't gone on a date with my husband for over a year. And this is someone I've been with since he was 15 years old. And I was so wrapped up in real estate and so excited to have 6 in escrow all the time. You start to lose track of your family. And I just want to reiterate to you that it comes out, you forget about those things because you're so excited at the beginning to make all this money and your life is changing. But don't forget about those important people in your life. And I didn't even realize that was happening until Rick pointed that out to me. And ever since Rick has pointed that out to me, we have hired a nanny that comes in once a week. My husband and I go on a date night once a week, and it has changed our life greatly. So thank you, Rick.
Yeah, I want to mention Rick, who's back there. So as I mentioned earlier, we don't have very many men in here, but there are 2 men in this room that would rather not be anywhere else. They love women more than anything. They always dress and stand out. And Rick Jiha and Joe Crispillo, where is my husband Joe? Did he sneak out on me? Oh, look at that, he snuck out. They are 2 peas in a pod, and I will tell you the best advice I learned from Rick was when he said, you don't necessarily have to be crazy and passionate in love with real estate, but the money that it affords you and allows you to live the life that you want is pretty powerful. Oh, there's my husband, Joe. Thank you to all of our supportive husbands. They are very patient and tolerant. Look at they're hugging each other. Even better back there. Okay, Darcy, we're going to... Oh, Jen has a story, then Darcy. Then we'll take a quick break.
1 second, because I thought about this a couple times as people were saying something, then as Cindy said that. So, like Cindy, I've been with my husband for forever. We got married when I was 17, still married to the same man 23 years later. And we've had our ups and downs, and we've been in real estate for 17 years. And the one thing we do exceptionally well, no matter what, whether it's a time period where we were tighter on money or whatever, is we date every week. Now, sometimes if I'm really busy, that date may be a quick meal, and he's going with me to preview houses. We've totally done that. It's sad but true. But we just love being together. And that's because even if I'm cranky or whatever it may be, we make that date a priority. The kids maybe not so much, but because as you have more of them, you feel less guilty about ditching them more. But
6 is enough, for the record. 6.
6 is definitely enough.
Some are high achievers like Mitzi and Dana.
So, I realize there may be some people who are single, and that's great. Then whatever your priority is, whether it's yourself or whatever it is, but something a priority every week. And if you have a significant other, make that a priority every week, because all the money in the world with real estate is not going to matter if you drive your marriage or your relationship or your kids, whatever it is, into the ground. There is nothing that matters more. And the more you do date them and stuff, especially being a wife in real estate, you kind of need your husband to kick it up and be supportive, because there are times you're like, honey, I'll be home at 5 p.m. Oh, well, then I had to write an offer, and basically everyone in my family knows I try really hard to stick to my timeline, but stuff happens in real estate. How are you supposed to tell an $800,000 buyer, that's great that you want to write an offer, but can we wait till tomorrow? It's just, there are some things that can't wait, and so you have to put enough in the bank that you can draw that out when you need to.
Awesome. Darcy?
I just wanted to say something to Taylor really quickly, too. So when agents, this is my favorite saying to say to agents when they come at me like a spider monkey. You know, that's what I call them. Like, oh, they come at me like a spider monkey. Is, oh, you know what? I know you don't know this, but I actually don't play that way. I don't. I don't want to be a bulldog. That's just not my nature. So I'm going to be kind, and I can be assertive, but I'm going to be kind, and I play nice. Like, that's just who I am. So, and just disarm them. Because I've had agents say, I'm going to kill everybody in this transaction. And you're like, whoa, easy, trigger, easy, you know. And if you bring yourself down to like where you're like, I just don't do that, it kind of diffuses the whole.
That's a great point, because I actually had this happen last week. Shannon and I were at lunch, and I was talking to a real estate agent, and I had to stop. I said, I need to stop for a moment, because I just want to check, is your intent to be rude to me? Maybe I'm misunderstanding your tone of voice. I'm not sure. If that's your intent, then let's figure out a different way to communicate, right? Or let's find a way to come to a happy place. And sometimes you do, and it's not, it was brave, but I said, that can't be, you can't mean to be talking to me that way, right? Like, that can't be your intent. And sometimes when you do that, it will disarm them, right? Now, sometimes it pisses them off, but sometimes sometimes you just have to step back and say, hey, can we start this conversation again? Mm-hmm. Let's find another way to communicate so that we can make this a win-win. Because at the end of the day, what is most important is the client, right? And I always say the number one reason deals don't come together in real estate, egos of the agents. Has nothing to do with what the buyer or the seller want. Yeah. Has everything to do, what'd you say? Yeah, lack of communication and the egos of the agents. So
and kindness always wins.
Always wins.
You will always come out on the top.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to, Kate wanted to say one thing, and then we're going to take a quick break, and then we will come back.
When agents get this thing where it's like a game. Do you want the microphone? And on the way to that. By the way, though, I got to say, I did a deal with Darcy my second year in. Everybody in this room, pray you get to do a deal with Darcy.
Very sweet.
My skills as an agent, went up by 5, I would say, after. Yeah.
Take the mic. Okay, 2 things. A great agent knows the market. The best agent knows the agent.
Very good.
You're going to do a couple deals with your clients, but there are some agents that I have run into over 20 times. They are your best friends. They should be. Get to know them, know who it is. They need to know who you are, which means that your character needs to be good, because you will have days where you say things that are not nice, and you got to call up and be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm on a protein diet, and it's the first 3 days. I don't know. But it's the truth. Apologize when you have bad behavior, because I've had it quite a few times. The other thing is when they come at you like a spider monkey, I like to really remind people what we do. You know, if we break up, neither of us get paid. So how you doing?
I want to touch on that. Oh, go ahead. Quick on that. And do play nice with everybody, just like everybody else here has said, because you never know if they're going to have a listing and your clients really want that property, and you look and see who's like, oh, shh. You know, I feel like I have good relationships with most agents that, I want to say almost all, that I've worked with.
Almost all.
Almost all. I can only think of one, to be honest with you.
I got a few.
I've worked with you. And I love you guys. But you never know when you're going to have to work with that agent again. And I love when my clients say, you know what, I want to write an offer on that house. And I can say, you know what, I have a really good relationship with that agent. I'm super excited. I can't wait to call them. Just make good relationships with your clients and the other agents.
That's a great point. And I will tell you one thing about my good friend Kate. For any of you who remember the market of 2008, it was the worst market in history. And I was having one of the worst days that I ever had in the business. And I was having a little panic attack, and I was just crying my eyes out at my desk and table. And Kate happened to call me in that moment, and I did not know what to do. And she says, "I'm on my way." And she dropped everything. And she literally came in and saved the day. And that is a relationship that you guys, you want with the other agents in this business. That's the kind of relationship where when you are having a tough time and you need help, these are women, every one of these women I know on this panel, I could make the same call to. And so keep that in mind when you are having those tough deals and you're building those relationships. I love what she said is that many of us, we've done multiple deals together over the years, and clients have come and gone. And so these relationships, to me, are way more important in many situations than your actual clients, because they're on the other end of that deal. And it either went good before or it went bad before. And so do what you can to keep those relationships solid. So we're going to take a 10-minute break. There is food. Mark put some pre-lunch stuff out. Grab something. Go to the bathroom. Seriously, 10 minutes, ladies. All right, we're going to get rolling. So how was the first half? Good? Did you get some good stuff? Awesome. So we got a couple more good questions we're going to ask, and then we will open some stuff up for you guys to ask questions and see what advice you can get if you need it. All right, so we're going to ask the question, if I were to pick you up today and drop you somewhere else, like Hoboken, Kentucky, or I don't know where, the middle of nowhere, what would you do to jumpstart your business again?
That's a good question. I'd go through my phone, start calling everybody in my phone first and telling them I was stuck in Hoboken. And
come get me, please.
Come rescue me. And then I'd probably go out and find strategic partners right off the bat. I think I'd look for a good divorce attorney because people are going to be unhappy in Hoboken, and so I'm just assuming they'll want to work with them. And then possibly a probate attorney, someone who, people die unhappy in Hoboken. So, but I'd find some strategic partners. So I'd look around, and then I'd just go to the hop-in restaurants or hop-in coffee places and just start talking to people and try to pick up open houses and just start mingling and mixing.
That's awesome. And I want to bring something up that she brought up as strategic partners. So we talked a lot about being kind to other real estate agents, but I actually ask you to also be kind to all of your affiliate partners. We're talking your title and escrow people, your lenders, your inspectors, all the people who show up and pay for these events to happen, all the people who help us build relationships with our clients, and who many times get the short end of the stick and don't necessarily get treated correctly. So we have some fantastic title and escrow people in here from all different companies. We have some fantastic lenders, home warranty, insurance, just about anything you can imagine. And those people are a huge part of our business, and we could not do what we do without them. So it's so important that you take the time to thank them, be kind to them, help them do their job so that they can help you do yours.
Well, let's see.
Hoboken.
I know. I'm a California girl, so let me get over that fact for a moment. Well, yours was much more educated sounding. I would go old school. I would be putting open house signs everywhere. If you do it in a short skirt, you might get more business, but I don't know.
Not the right kind of business,
Probably
ladies.
not. Just kidding. Oh yeah, that is debatable. It's Hoboken. Maybe my Wranglers and my cowgirl boots. That might work.
There you go.
So I would do open houses. I would be door knocking, and I'm a social girl with 50 million kids. So I mean, as soon as you put your kids in school, you start, going to things, meeting people. That's the biggest thing, and is starting to get relationships and rapport the fastest. But mine would probably be open houses, door knocking, and just starting to build friendships as fast as possible. Not quite
Awesome.
as smart as
Dana?
So this actually did happen to me. I moved here 19 years ago, May 2000, from San Diego. I had been a Southern California beach girl my whole life. There's no use for a surfboard here. I found that out when I moved. But I didn't know anyone. And I was in tech, and I was traveling the whole U.S. and Canada, and then I quit my job. And I said, I'm done. and I went into real estate, and I looked around and went, cricket, cricket. I don't know anyone or anything. So I jumped into a B&I group, which Marguerite and I have like a tie on that one, which is one of the few, I'm not bashing networking groups, but I will say for me that was the most successful because it was with intent. So you end up having 10 to 12 sales agents really promoting your business every week because you're in this group and they are required to in order to be in the group. So that was the start. The second thing that I did was I joined the association and kind of sat in the meetings and got involved and got to know other realtors and followed them because I didn't know much about real estate. I knew some, but not a lot. And then every single person I met, I put into a database. Every single person I met. And they got tired of talking to me. But it was awesome because it blossomed into, I jumped into Buffini in 2005, I think, finally, and it has just been the gift that keeps on giving. And I just would wear my name tag. And I wasn't like talking to everybody and saying, hey, you want to hear about real estate? But they would hear you on the phone or they would see your name tag and they would ask you at the grocery store. So just built one at a time. And it's the bomb. You don't have to know everyone to be successful in real estate. Sometimes it's better not to know anybody, and then they don't look at you. If I had started real estate in San Diego, guys, all of my friends knew me as a tech person. They didn't think I knew real estate. So the good news is no one knew what I did know or didn't know. So it was a great place to start.
So we're just going to have a couple more of you answer this question because we have several questions we want to get through. So who wants to answer this question? Maribel? Okay.
I can.
Go ahead.
I would join the local chamber office. I would obviously the whatever real estate association, the top real estate office, and get to know the top producers and hold open houses for them, although I'm not an open house gal, but in that scenario I probably would do it. And just go to networking events. And once again, if you talk to enough people, you're going to run into business. You just are.
So that's a great answer, and I want to point out one thing that I think about many times because so many of us get sucked into spending money on advertising, right? With, Zillow, Realtor.com. I mean, we're the best suckers for salespeople out there. We'll buy just about anything. All they have to do is say, well, if you get one deal out of it, it's worth it, right? And we've all heard this. So pretend that today you are no longer allowed to spend any money on advertising, meaning you could not do anything that is considered advertising. What would you do to get business? Well, I think what everyone will concur with is that you would build relationships and you would get in front of people. And for those of you who are newer, I will tell you that if you actually get in front of somebody, you have a 70% chance of them working with you, mostly because people are too lazy to interview people, right? And so your odds are really high if you get in front of somebody. But internet leads, cold leads, Zillow, many of those, some people have done well with them. But for the most part, those are long-term nurturing relationships. And many times by the time they actually buy a house, they find a friend or family member or somebody, right? Elizabeth?
Just on a side note, I'd pick what you're passionate about and work that network. So in other words, if you have a bunch of kids, hang out with people who have a bunch of kids. If you're into cars, hang out with people who have cars. If you're into horses, hang out with people who have horses because you'll have something in common. It's like dating. As long as you have something in common, you can usually get a second date. If you don't have anything in common, and guys don't post fish on Match. It just doesn't look good. So most women don't fish.
Yeah, there you go. Krista.
When I started in real estate, my husband and I were pastors of a church, and we had come off of a year where there was an embezzlement. And so one year we earned like $11,000, family of 6. So somebody asked me, what was your motivation? I was like, to eat. So because we were pastors, I didn't feel right about prospecting friends and family. It just felt like a conflict of interest. So I didn't have the network, like I had a big network, but I didn't use it. That's why for me, I just picked open houses because I knew getting in front of people, no money to do any advertising. Cindy and I would borrow signs from people. But I would say how you do open houses, there's an art and a science to it. So if you need a video on how to, text any of us. The best video you could ever watch is Brent's training on it. Don't just open a house. Don't just pick any house. Don't just pick anyone that will let you hold it open. So there's an art and a science to it. You want to follow it by the book. And then the other thing I'll say is I just did a little class for some of our agents in our office, and if you want to text me, I'll send you that video and anything that I've created that I use. But you can look me up, but my number is 916-612-3733. If you just want to text me, I'll send it to you, everything.
Awesome. Kate? Okay, go ahead. Then I have a couple other good questions I want to ask. So
I'd get a giant pot of coffee, and I would comb through that MLS. I would find out who the top producers are, and I would stalk them online and see what they're doing to get their business. Then I would probably sign up with Zillow. I'd sell a couple houses, and I would look and learn that market so that when I got that business, I'd know that I was doing. I'd find the newest development in town that no agent has penetrated yet, and I would hit it like it was my firstborn. And I'd be there every day. I would.
Firstborn. Hold on.
I'm telling you. Yeah, I don't talk to my kids either. So I would do that, and I would find a neighborhood that nobody's completely penetrated, and I would work it. And you'll meet people when you're sitting there putting flags on that say, hi, happy 4th of July or whatever. But I would find where the business was not happening and where it could be maximized, and I would make sure that I knew that business before I started anything. And then on the back of my computer, I'd put a big picture of myself that says, got real estate agent? And I'd sit in the busiest Starbucks in town all day until I got hired.
That's fantastic. So, Maribel, did you want to? Okay, we're going to move on to.
But I can add something really quick. If someone speaks another language, I speak Spanish, so I would find whatever demographic there was in that city. Although I don't think there's many Hispanics in that city.
Maybe not in Hoboken, Kentucky. Maybe I don't know.
Can't
Maybe
even say it. But yes, if you speak another language, yes, get involved.
Get around your people, right? So for many of you, you have never been through a down market. Some of you have only seen the current market that we're in, right? Which for most of us is become pretty easy for a lot of us who've been around. And you've not actually had to learn to sell, which is really something that I think is vitally important in how to generate business. I know that when I started in 1993, it was interest rates were 8 and 9%. It was the beginning of an REO market back then. And I had to learn how to sell. I had to learn what to do. I had to learn how to sell HUD homes. I literally, back then, I'm going to date myself because we didn't have the computer systems that you guys have now. So every Thursday, the HUD would send out a HUD list of all the homes that were available. And basically what Kate will tell you is that HUDs are what are called open listings, right? Which means you can advertise any of them or sell any of them. And nobody wanted to deal with HUD homes. They said, oh, they're too much work. And I think the contract they use today is the same one they used 25 years ago. It's a one-page contract. You fill in like 6 boxes, right, Kate? So it's super simple. And so I figured out how to sell these HUD homes, and we literally would hold them. You're not supposed to hold them open, so we would park a table in front of them, and if anybody happened to be driving by, we would go show them the house. And we got it to where we were literally not texting, we didn't text back then, we were faxing and printing these lists, and we would have lines outside of our office door of people who wanted to come get the list because we learned how to market. So as the market shifts or as things change, and I personally, I don't know what anyone else thinks of the market, and if I knew the answers, I'd be in Tahiti sipping Mai Tais. I would not be here because I'd be mega rich. But the truth is that markets are cyclical, right? Cyclical, and things change and things shift. I don't think we're going to go back to 2008, in my personal opinion. I think that, we'll definitely see a more stable market. Many sellers, right, have never had to actually leave their house on the market for 6 months and get one offer. And now things are shifting just a tiny bit. So my question to you, and you guys can just, whoever wants to answer this question can raise their hand, is what is your biggest advice as we move into some of the slow months of the year? And I'll tell you, again, in 2005, I remember August of 2005, putting a house on the market in Crocker Ranch, and 2 weeks later we had no offers, and I thought, I think the winds have shifted, right? Obviously, I had no idea the market was going to do what it did. And somebody said, hey, get on this list for REO agents. I was like, I don't know, what's an REO, right? And I started doing BPOs. And back then they'd pay $50 for a BPO. And people would be like, I'm not doing that for $50. I'm like, girl, that's milk money for my kids. I'll do it. And I built a team to do over 400 BPOs a month. And I remember Kate showing up at my office one day saying, show me how to do BPOs, right? And everyone was dying on the vine. So my question to you guys is, with the market shifting a little bit, or if it does shift in a major way, what would you do and what do you recommend? And Darcy, I'll start with you.
I would say don't be afraid. Yeah, I started real estate when it was all REOs and short sales. And I didn't do what I called my first equity sale till my third year in real estate, and they were happy. Everyone was crying, you know. And I had to learn how to negotiate a short sale, and they were phenomenal for me because I had little babies. So all the banks are over on the East Coast. You get up at 6 a.m., no one's calling them. You negotiate early in the morning. You kind of had to just learn. I negotiated my own short sale. I don't think you're supposed to do that. But, you know, it was that type of market where, you know, everybody was going through a hardship, but we were all in it together, and I had to be creative. I didn't have that, you know, what we've had the last 5 years, which has been amazing. And now I'm having to change again, because before it was like, how do I win this offer for my clients? Now it's like, how do I get my buyer to make an offer? Because every time I show them homes, there's 5 other homes hitting the market. So it's like getting them off their, you know, there's going to be another one tomorrow, versus like, how do I win this one for him? It's a shift each time. So just don't be afraid. Just go for it.
Who else wants to? Dana and then Elizabeth.
Okay, how many of you follow a blogger, like a real estate blogger, like appraisal blogger? Anybody in here? Okay, that's your win, because here's where we're at, you guys. We're not in the market where we were in 2008, where we're going to have too many. We have too short of inventory everywhere we're looking. So if you follow that, you'll know that people are talking about a bubble. Don't look at the news. There's no bubble coming. It's a very normal market that we're in right now, but people are panicking. So don't panic. That's all I can tell you is don't panic. You adjust. If you adjust to what the market is doing and your business adjusts, then you're not going to be one of those screaming and crying and going and getting a job at Starbucks or Thunder Valley, right? So follow the market. Know your market. Watch it. Like right now, we're under a certain amount of months of inventory in specific areas. But that doesn't mean anything other than you get out there and you start telling your database that, hey, we need listings. We've got lots of buyers but no listings. And we're not just talking about pretend marketing where people send the letter going, I have buyers. You really have them. And go to the sellers and research. Know your numbers, because if you know your numbers, you're going to be head and shoulders above everyone else and
Fantastic.
be 2 weeks ahead of the market. That's all I say.
Yeah, pay attention to the statistics. One of the best things that I learned doing BPOs is we used to have to run statistics every day. And you quickly started to see, and I had already been in real estate for 10 years when REO hit. And we had to look at the statistics every day, which I had never even looked at. And to be able to see, oh my goodness, REOs are rising, short sales are rising. Oh my goodness, only 5% of the market are what we call equity sales, right? And then we also had to pay attention to that when the market reversed, when the REO started to go away around 2013 and 14. I had to pay really close attention to that so that I could jump back into the traditional market. So you have to pay attention to those numbers. It's a big part of what you do. Elizabeth?
One of the stories I like to tell is when I was in the car business, we used to see people come in and they were paying cash for vehicles. And this was back in 2003, 2004, 2005. They come in and they say, oh, we're paying cash. Oh, really? Where's that cash coming from? And it was coming from their homes. So I knew back then what was coming down the pike. And the reality is what the owner would do is the minute we felt a shift in the market, the owner would hire 8 new salespeople. And we'd be sitting here going, what the heck? Well, it's because the strong survive. The ones who had the basic skill sets, who did the basics every day, who didn't sit on their computer up at the point, as we called it, and play solitaire, but the ones who actually, so now today it would be Facebook.
Candy Crush.
Or Candy Crush. So they were the ones that actually did the work every day. The market didn't affect them as much. So the reality is markets do this all the time, and sometimes they're this way, and sometimes they're huge. I don't think we're going to see that big roller like we did, but there will be a natural attrition. People will leave the marketplace. The statistics now are saying we're going to lose about 38% of the agents. So, a third of you guys are going to not be here in a couple years. So the reality is, if you want to do this, put your head down and just get it done.
The truth is, too, most agents get in the market, they piss off their family and friends, and they get out. So, 2-year industry is the average amount of time. So we're going to have Mitzi answer this, and I know Kate can't stand herself down there and has a really strong opinion. So we're going to let Kate give her opinion.
So, and what was the question again?
What is your advice as the market shifts, as we move into a slower market?
So it's funny because when 2008 hit, I like to say we were already broke. So I had no idea that any of this had happened, So I feel like if you can educate yourself, pay attention to the trends, but take classes on short sales if short sales start to come back. Take classes on REO. Just continue to educate yourself. Again, follow the experts. Ryan Lundquist has an exceptional blog.
Yeah. He's the bomb, but yeah, he runs reports and stats. He does some awesome stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So as long as you're continuing to educate yourself, continuing to work hard, not allowing that to freak you out. I had the immense leg up being on Marguerite's team, years ago, as we really started to see this shift begin to happen. And I remember being a somewhat newer agent at the time and saying, Marguerite, what am I going to do? The market's shifting. What do I do? And her advice is just amazing. She said, a good agent will do good in any market. And really, we are in charge of our own economies. So if we're showing up, we're doing the work, we're continuing to educate ourselves, we're continuing to educate our clients, and always, always, always making sure that our clients' best interests are what we are here to uphold. Never be so focused on closing that deal that you're willing to jeopardize your client's well-being, or I've heard all kinds of stories about different agents doing things that were completely unethical for the purpose of closing the deal and paying their car payment or whatever it is, but in their interest. So as long as you're always keeping your client at the forefront of your decisions and leading with ethics, you're going to be just fine.
Awesome. Kate? You guys get ready. Hang on. Buckle up.
Call your kids. Tell them you're going to be late. I like a good market like we have. I love an REO market. There is so much opportunity. It separates the wheat from the chaff. And I promise you, if you can figure out how to do an REO market, you will be wealthy. Period. You will find investors and you will figure it out. So here's the thing. Everybody's talking about we have low inventory, this and that. I'm going to tell you something. We had low inventory when the market crashed last time. That's not your indicator. It's not. I don't remember much from my MBA, but I do remember that the whole rule is supply and demand, right? Short supply, high demand, price goes up. That's all predicated on purchasing power. We have another player that you cannot see right now, which is big corporations coming in and buying houses, and they have. I'll tell you what, when they were giving houses away in 2011 and 12, Blackstone was buying like 1 in 5, right? They're the big hedge fund, and at some point in time, what do you think that they're going to do with those? Because houses age like people. When you're 40, you need a tune-up.
Hold on a minute.
Last time we bought all these houses that were 5 and 6 years old, they were fantastic. But they're going to need repair, and people will look at those portfolios and they will change it. There's 2 things that I want you to do. 2 movies. You're going to watch Too Big to Fail. You're going to have to be sober. It's boring. And you're going to watch The Big Short.
Best movie ever.
You can drink wine with that one.
You drink a lot of wine with that.
But they're going to key you in to big things. We look at these economic indicators in the New York Times and CNN or Fox. That depends on whether you're Republican or Democrat and which one you're watching. And everybody has an opinion. But they can't tell you what's happening in Placer County. They have no idea. We have booming and suffering counties right now at the same time. Even in the worst market that we had, we had flourishing counties with new builds. So you can't look at the national statistics. It's not relevant. But I'll tell you where you should look to cheat. Watch your builders. Those people spend billions every year figuring out whether they're going to make money or not. And the second they don't think they're going to make money, guess what they don't have? Standing inventory. They will drop their hammers, they will pay it off, and they certainly won't be applying for new building starts. Those people spend a lot of money. Get in the habit of learning good habits from people who are better than you. Even when you're good, there is always somebody out there who knows, there's always the Jackie Joyner Kersey, right? You're like, I'm really good, I want California, and she's like, I'm Jackie, Look to those people. They have good habits and they'll figure it out. And I promise you, you will know. Average income in Placer County is $82,000. Who's my DJ? If I make $82,000 a year and my cap rate is 43%, can go to my housing. I think that's the rule that they use. How much house can I buy with 10% down?
We'll let him come back to that answer.
Just a solid guess. But let's say it's $500,000. How much is it? Does somebody have the answer? Rodney? 550?
Really? 550? Huh.
I can't hear. What'd you say? 550, right? How good a house you buying in Rockland and Roseville and Granite Bay for 550? Right! And that's the average income in the area. When people can't afford to buy it, they won't. We'll have a lot of renters, and yes, we have the investors coming in, but you also have to watch your flippers. I can't tell you how many flippers I know right now who are like, I'm good. I'm a hold. And Jacqueline's flipping goddess. That's such a good name for you, girl. And but watch what the people who make the money in real estate are doing. And I'm going to tell you, last time, people keep saying REO's not going to come back, and they're wrong. It's going to come back. It's not going to be atomic like we had last time. They called it the Great Recession for a reason, right? It was one in so many homes. But I'm going to tell you, we have this all the time. And every time they come out with a new loan that gives you 3.5%, I want you to know that these are our weakest borrowers. When we have most of our borrowers getting FHA at 3.5% down with credit scores that are significantly lower, it's a sign. When anything changes and it's going to cost them 6% to sell a house, people will walk. They're buying things on credit. We have people now who are taking out 40-year loans, and like people, houses need work. It is $15,000 to put in a new HVAC system, and it's at least $20,000 to get a roof. If you don't have equity in your home, guess what's happening? It's aging, and it's not aging gracefully. So people will make choices to bail out. So I want you to realize that it's going to come back. The people who have money are going to hold. But most people don't have that luxury. So I'm here to remind you that it will come. So with that, know what that entails. When you do REO, and when it comes back, trust me, I'll be the only one up here. I'll be having one talk with like 200 people, and they'll be like, hey, girl, because I do HUD homes. I sell REOs every day. That's what I do, and I do that with the court. But I want you to remember that it will change. It's always cyclical. Your other sign is, anybody hearing about take equity out in your house, pay for your kids' college? Okay, first of all, that college debt is real, and it's a problem, and it's huge. Second of all, people start taking out money to fix things that they can't do because their homes are aging, right? And then when things change, they give up. To one person, knowing that they're underwater by $30,000, they're ready to burn that house down. They're like, send me a truck, move me out. I'm not going down with this Titanic. Don't cue the music.
It's okay. I want to throw something into that while you're saying that. Is it the last time we went through this REO, and then we're going to switch it up so we can be happy a little bit again. I'm going to let Jack go too, but hang on. So,
and if they advertise for bankruptcies, it's coming.
Yeah, we all have strong opinions about this. Is it the first time around? It was more of a lot of people had a moral issue with letting their home go. They were uncomfortable with it. They didn't want the bad credit. They were embarrassed. They didn't want anyone to know. However, we have an entire generation of people who went through that, and so the minute the market dips, they're going to be out. They're going to be, I'm out. So it's a totally different generational way of thinking that we will see this time around that we didn't see last time around. Last time, people would, move out of their house. They didn't want anyone to know. They'd leave in the middle of the night. Now they're like, I'm sitting until I get my cash for keys check, right? So we have an educated generation now on REO and short sales and things like that will make this go round very, very different. Jacqueline?
All right, I just wanted to touch when I got licensed. It was right towards the, I think it was either right at the end of 05 or January of 06. Market was booming. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna make some money. And you know what happened? It tanked the next month. I'm talking like took a fat dump, as you guys all know. And I didn't know what to do. I was all excited. I really, really wanted to do real estate. So I found a way to get in, and I got in with investors. And we were buying, that's how I met Marguerite. She actually schooled me. It was pretty funny. So I found investors. So I found a way to make that market work for me. And then once I found my one investor I started doing multiple properties with, I actually stuck by his side through the entire project. I learned what things are going to cost. I could walk into a house and be like, that door is going to be $500, and kind of go out and start doing stuff on my own. And I'd package it all up and say, hey, here's what you're going to buy this for. Here's the rehab. Here's the resale. And I got really, really good at it. And so I actually started doing that on my own. Now, talking about the shift, I'm not doing any right now. I did one this year. I'm good. I don't want to do it until things have changed and the margins are better. But just knowing even in a down market, if you just get creative, real estate's always selling. Just try to find out where you need to be for it.
That's a great one. And here's one of my favorite quotes I wrote down today. One of my favorite people to follow is a gal named Marie Forleo, and she wrote a book called Everything is Figure-Outable. And this quote says, obstacles don't have to stop you. If you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Figure out how to climb it, go through it, or work around it. And what you'll notice by all the people who have survived a variety of these markets is we just had to figure out what direction to go. We had to shift. We had to move. We had to find a way to survive through those difficult times. And so that requires you to pay attention. It requires you to actually look at this as a job and a career and do the work that you need to do in order to keep hustling, right? Because there were people making millions and millions of dollars during the worst market in history. And there were people, more than half the real estate community stopped selling real estate. They quit. They went and got jobs at wherever you can imagine they got jobs. So you have the decision on if you want that to be you or not, right? So, okay. Yep, Krista?
Right before you said that quote, I was thinking about the lady that wrote that book, because a common thing that we're all hearing is, I learned. And I've coached several newer agents, now in my short, I still feel like a rookie myself, but I think the number one thing I keep telling newer agents is it's okay to not know. And I've never been embarrassed by not knowing something. I've never been embarrassed to ask a question, even if it's the agent on the other side of the deal. If I've never done a short sale before, I say, hey, this is going to be my first short sale. So whatever you can tell me so that I can make this smoother for both of us and our clients, please just let me know. Like if it's a probate and I've never done a probate before. And it's okay that they're going to know you don't know anyway. So it's like, I might as well just say it and help them feel empowered so that they're more comfortable knowing that I'm coachable.
Great stuff. I will tell you how I actually met Kate is she called me. She says, hey, I see you're doing a lot of this stuff and I need to learn how to do it. Can I come spend a couple hours with you? I'm like, sure. I didn't know her from Adam. She came to my office. We sat together for 2 or 3 hours and I think we drank wine. And next thing you know, I think she brought, okay, so we have a couple more questions and then we're going to actually open it up for whoever wants to ask anyone on the panel questions. And one of these questions I wanted to ask is who on our panel has a team? Okay, so I want to ask those that have a team, at what point did you start a team? And what advice would you give to somebody who actually wants to start their own team? So Darcy, go ahead.
Okay, so I've had the privilege to work with Brent Gove since the beginning, which was phenomenal. It gave me the most amazing foundation. And I started having all these kids when I was in real estate, and it was getting a little hard for me to handle. So I brought my mom on as my partner. I think I want to say maybe 7 years ago. So that's been great. So my mom and I have been partners since then. And then recently, in the last 2 years, I became like mentor certified with EXP, and I started helping mentees. And then we opened a little office in Newcastle. So it's been about 3 years since we opened that, and I started building the team of great agents. They're just kicking some booty out there. Yeah.
Who else has a team? Mitzi, let's have you talk about it.
So I opened an office in Lincoln about 3 or 4 years ago and worked independently with an assistant. By the way, if you guys want to triple your business, hire an assistant. That was
going to be my question too. How many of you guys have a TC? How many of you also have an assistant or an assistant TC? Yeah, everybody up here. I truly think that you can only personally do about 12 to 15 deals a year without an assistant, and you'll never break through that number if you don't hire help. But Elizabeth is very correct, and you have to hire the right person, and you're not the person probably to hire them because you're going to hire someone like you, and that's not going to work. Learn how to do the disc profiles. I know there's several classes. I've taught some classes on that. We can do some advanced classes on that, but make sure you hire the right person. Mitzi?
Well, and actually, that was exactly what I did. I hired myself, figured out earlier this year that wasn't working, and then went ahead and let her go, but gave her a long time, a whole month, to find the right opportunity so she didn't have to jump right into anything, and it preserved the relationship. And then I actually had Shannon Hoff back there. She helped me with the hiring process, and I hired the most incredible person that has a whole different skill set than me, and she's just phenomenal. That's Sabina over there. But so when it came to building a team for me, initially, I also became a certified mentor with EXP, and then I had a gal who we worked really well together, and so I actually ended up having a listing in Loomis that was a major fixer, and we priced it accordingly. And I was getting so many sign calls that I asked my mentee if she would, mind taking those leads, because number one, I don't double end as a practice, and number two, I was actually on vacation when that house hit the market. And so anyway, she ended up taking all these calls for me, and then she joined my team, and shortly thereafter, a lot of people that I'd already had relationships with and known for many years started becoming licensed, so started bringing them on, as well as attracted a couple other incredible women. And the main thing for me is making sure that the people are a good fit. And so, number one, culture is huge. I'm right in the middle of the audiobook, or it's also, you can get the paper copy as well, but it's Leaders Eat Last. Phenomenal book. We've built a culture that's just so conducive of helping one another. And although the majority of my team, everyone's here, actually, all 5 of the gals on my team, and we just everyone on my team. Wonderful, wonderful ladies. And we collaborate. We share ideas. We help one another. If one of my teammates is unable to go show a property, she'll send a text message to the rest of the team, and somebody will raise their hand and say, hey, I'm not busy right now. I have no problem going to meet your client. There's no competition. I mean, it's so wonderful. I love the culture that we've created, the way that it feels to spend time with everyone, and just the way that they're coming from a place of contribution and service is phenomenal.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mitzi. Victoria, and then Elizabeth. Elizabeth wanted to answer a question real quick.
Hire slow.
Yes. Yes. So true.
That's where I was going to go
Yeah,
with
let's
that,
hear you,
Elizabeth, because
Victoria.
starting my team happened organically. I had a TC that worked with me. She sold, and then I had somebody that wanted to join our team, and I just didn't do it right. I didn't know what the disc was. I came back from showing property, and the assistant I hired, I looked through the window, and she was on the floor sleeping, and it was like, everything you could do wrong. So what I did is I looked across the United States at some really top teams that I thought that I would want to emulate, and one of them happened to be in a coaching program. So I submerged myself into this coaching program because I love to sell. I'm not a great leader, but I love my team, and I knew they needed, help that I couldn't give them. So if you're on my team, you have to go through coaching. You have to participate in it. I don't make it mandatory, but they all do well with it. And, Brent's not here, so I can tell you the name of our team. No, we're really proud of our team, but one of them nicknamed us, we're hashtag Team BBC, bitches be closing.
There you go.
But the whole team it's the commission structures and all this stuff that I don't want to deal with. Find somebody else that's successful and emulate it. Don't try to duplicate it. So.
Yeah, I will say, like I said earlier, in case you didn't hear it, God did not put a manager and a salesperson in the same body. So most of you that are extraordinary salespeople, you're horrible managers. You suck at it, right? And you're not. Many of us have said we are not good at being organized. We're not good at this. We're not good at, we hire wrong. And one thing I learned early on too was that I'm not allowed to hire without a crew that tells me what they think. And I promise you, if you do not have a team, go get your escrow person, go get your best friend, get your husband or your mom, and have them do an interview with the people you are considering. Because they'll be honest with you, and they'll say, you're crazy, don't hire that one. And you'll be like, oh, but I like her, she's so sweet. I'll be like, no, right? So, okay, so what I wanted to do is I want to see what questions you guys may have in the audience, and I think probably more stuff will come up. We have about 40 minutes left. So anyone have specific questions? And if you could stand up, and I'll bring the microphone to you. You guys have to have questions.
Hi, I have a question for Kate. We talked about teams, but Kate, you have your own brokerage. I don't know if anybody else up there does, but I'm wondering what the pros and cons are of that. And then also if you might be able to share what, annually, what kind of a financial commitment that is. Like what it costs to be running.
Okay, so I run with scissors. And when I started in this industry, I worked for Prudential, and they had me on a 50-50 split. And, I have this huge overinflated sense of ego. I think all salespersons need that, right? So I had sold 4 houses in the first month, and I went in and told them, hey, I'm going to need a little better than 50-50 because pretty much been your top producer like the last 30 days. And Lord bless Bill Gaylor. He looked right at me and he goes, well, maybe we should see how next month goes. And I'm like, I am an MBA, and I think maybe I should be a broker too. And he goes, yeah, well, we'll talk about this later. I go, look, I'm going to go get my broker's license, and if you don't change my split, I'm just going to open a new office. And he looks at me and he goes, good luck with that. Close the door on your way out. And I was like, I will never date you. So I took myself and was driving down the street, stopped in an office, and I was like, how hard can this be? So I rented an office, and that was like $400 a month. It was like 75 cents a square foot because I was cheap, still am. And got my broker's license. I called a lady named Katie Mack, who I wasn't selling against. I said, Katie, you're your own broker. Please tell me what it takes to be a broker. And I'm going to tell you this straight up. You got to get, insurance, right? And if it's just you, it'll cost you about $3,000 or something like that, okay? If anybody works for you, you have to have workman's comp. So you've got your general liability, your workman's comp, and then you have to pay your broker's fees. That's it. But the liability, if you don't know what you're doing, is a nightmare. You don't have anybody to go on. So to manage a brokerage, and I have had a brokerage where I've had 30 people. They all walked out on me one day to save 2% on a split when Keller Williams opened up. And here I was like, I thought we were friends. You've been in my house. I named my kids after you, right? And they're like, 2%'s 2%, bye. And I told them, you're going to want to come back because I help you so much. And they did. They all came back. And when they came back, I realized you're not making me any money. Bye. Same reason I don't have a team. This is why. I can have 2 good assistants and make more money than somebody who sells 70 properties a year with a 10-person team.
I'll tell you, I ran a brokerage with 120 agents. And when the day came for us to think about selling our brokerage, and I did the same thing. I sold 18 houses in 6 months. I thought I knew it all, so I went, nope. I worked for Prudential too. And I opened my own company after I'd been less than a year in business. And after 22 years, I sat down and I looked at the business. And when what they told me is in order to sell my brokerage to anybody, I had to, number one, pull my personal production out of the equation. Well, when I did that, even with 120 agents, our company was hemorrhaging. You think you're infallible, and then another company, I won't name them, came in and took 20 of our top producing agents. So we went from being somewhat profitable to not being profitable at all. And I made more money the following year with just me and my team than I did running a brokerage of 120 agents. So for some people, opening a brokerage makes sense, but for 99% of the population, there's a reason they call it a brokerage, because the first 5 letters are broke.
If you're a selling broker, for one, you're competing against your own agents, and it's a little dirty. And for 2, you're not really going to be able to give them the time. I have a couple of agents. They live on my street. When they have a problem, they just knock on the door, they let themselves in and like, get the wine, what's up? You know, and we talk about it. So with that, Sherry, you're so seasoned and you're an amazing agent. Could you get your broker's license and just do it? 100%. And I'm going to give you some really good advice. Nobody ever remembers who you work for.
Right.
Cheryl Marr told me that when her and I partnered about 10 or 15 years ago. And I'm like, we really need to name it my name, Capital Crown. And she's like, who do you work for again? Like, you're my best friend. We're going to be partners. She's like, I have no idea. Your name, your personal name, whatever it is, and do not change your name when you get married. Done that a couple times. Error. Not just the marriage, but changing the name.
Right.
But you're your own personal brand. So when you do a brokerage, you know, the reason that you want to work for a brokerage is because there's a lot to it. You know, I learned hell by fire, for sure. You know, 20 years later, a lot of REO, and I'm a studious person. I mean, people will go have fun, and I'm like, I just want to learn how to make more money. I mean, that's me. I'll like read it all day long. So, Sherry, you could open your own brokerage and be great, and it's really not that hard. But the nice thing about working with somebody else is you get advice. And if you're going to have agents or if you're going to have a team, I'm going to tell you something, cut the fat. If they're not making you money and they are costing you time, get rid of them. That's why I don't have an assistant. A good assistant to me would cost me about $65,000 a year. And when I look at my deals, I'm like, that's going to cost me 15 more deals a year. If I have an assistant that doesn't give me 15 more deals a year, I don't want to talk to her. I don't want to deal with those deals. It doesn't make me any money, and that's the reason I don't have a team. I'm a bit of an anomaly. I'm kind of fortunate because I do commercial and new home developments, so I've got some other things going on. But just know what those extra people cost you.
Great. Thank you, Kate. Victoria, you had a quick comment?
I'm just going to give one little trick on an assistant because they are very expensive, and I have a full-time one. We were at a convention, and this California agent mentioned, well, why don't you just put a flat fee on your listing agreement? And I thought, oh, nobody will do that. Nobody has asked us. So every transaction, every listing we take, right where it says additional financing, we have it typed so it looks like part of it. It just says that the seller will pay a flat fee of, and we charge $375. That goes into our HR fund. So if I close or the team closes 12 deals, it's paid for her salary. So it's like, and now we're adding it on our buyers, and I have to tell you guys, they don't even balk at it. I mean, I've had a couple of people say, what is that? And I go, it's to process paperwork and pay for what Jessica does, and that's it. So
that's fantastic. So what other questions? Because I want to make sure everyone gets a chance to speak up here. We've had a couple who've been somewhat quiet. Hold on. Go ahead, Kim.
Okay, this question is for Taylor. My question is, what contributed to your success in your first year of being an agent? What do you think helped you to be successful in your first year?
My mentor and my husband. So my mentor, I can call her at 10 o'clock at night or even later, and she still answers, and she'll be like, "Hey, I've had a glass of wine." So
Her mentor is, by the way, Kelly Zimmerman right here, who's an amazing agent in her own right. And her husband, Zach, again, hard to miss. He's at, 6'12" or something? He's super tall.
And I'm sure he's there texting some clients right now for me or answering. He has my phone, whether it's our dog, Frenchie breeder people or my clients. And he's there. I'll be in the middle of dinner and my phone will ring and he'll step right in and help me out. And so I really couldn't do it without either one of them.
That's awesome. Great answer. Anyone else have a good question? Back over here.
Hello, my question's for Jacqueline. So at the downturn of the market, you said that you started working with investors. How did you network and meet the investors?
Back then, the internet leads were just starting, and I had we were getting a ton of them, and you just had to filter through them. And one of them was a guy. He's like, "I just want to buy houses. I got cash." Turned out it wasn't cash; it was hard money. And I learned that real quick when I wrote a cash offer on a B of A REO, and turns out it was a loan, and he almost lost $10,000. We figured it out, but I just I had to weed through a lot of other people. And really there was a ton of people that said they wanted to buy cash or wanted to buy houses, but they weren't they just wanted to learn how to do it. So you just had to just keep working, filter through people. But I did find investors. Now I pick and choose who I want to work with if I am going to do investment stuff. But you just gotta look, you gotta stay at it, ask around, talk to people.
Awesome. Any other questions? Okay, so I have a couple.
No, I want to add something.
Oh, someone had a question. Oh, go ahead, Kate.
About being a broker, I just want you guys to know, if you have a good broker and your split's decent, stay where you're at. I mean, no, that's the truth. Agents always switch to get an extra 15 cents. And the reality is, quit wasting your time interviewing with another broker and get to work, because it doesn't matter. And it's not going to change you that much. The most agents that I see chasing commissions are the ones not making any money. But if you have a decent, like EXP has a silly great split. Like, I don't know why anybody would ever try to negotiate, why they would ever leave. I mean, really, it's EXP. You have all the training.
She's
you have
not with EXP, but
I'm not with EXP. But I look at it and people call me and I'm like, I would call EXP. It's the best split and the most support. So unless there's a reason, I'm a certified SBA woman-owned business, so I need to be individual. That's how I get my government accounts. But if you're not going to really grow and you can find something else, don't hassle with being a broker. Just work harder and get a decent split with someplace like that.
Good point. Elizabeth, she had a quick data.
Sorry to stop in the middle. Guys, teams, make sure that you have everything in writing when you sign up for a team. I have failed miserably many times with teams, and I've also succeeded. And when I've succeeded, it's because I put things in writing. When you love on people, they don't always have the same expectations, let's say, that you do. And so you have to get it in writing or you will be miserable. And the other thing, Kate, bam, stop talking about what your split is, you guys. Get out there and work with mentors, work with people that want to launch you, not want to bleed you for their revenue. Work with people that want to launch you, and if you align yourself right, you're never going to leave because you're going to kill it.
Great point. Elizabeth?
You can hop from broker to broker to broker, but no matter where you go, there you are. So find yourself a big mirror and take a peek.
Absolutely. Yeah, you want to make more money, sell more houses, right? Because what you don't think about when you are running a brokerage, and you don't think about what the expenses are. Like when we had our brokerage, again, we had 8,000 square feet of office space that nobody came to. We had coffee machines for agents to stand around. We had, insurance and marketing and employees and utility bills and insurances. And I mean, I could go on for days at what the costs are. And I made more money as a simple agent myself than running a large brokerage with the expenses out there. So, I mean, you may want to do it, and good for you. I'll support you 100%. You ever want to ask me advice, I'm happy to give it to you. But 20/20 hindsight, after 25 years, I would not have ran my own brokerage. It was all ego for me. It really had nothing to do with making more money.
I'm going to say one thing on that. I do not, nor do I ever want to run my own brokerage. And it's because I go to events like this and I listen. And I was at an event in Arizona in January, And there was a gentleman there who said, oh, yeah, I owned a brokerage. And he goes, don't do it ever. Because here's the thing. You can be smart and you can learn and you can know everything that you know and try to do everything right. Ask Dana. She gets 50 million calls from me because I am an out-of-the-box girl, but I want to do it by the rules because I don't want to be in trouble, and I want to do it well, and I want to do it right. However, you can't fix stupid, and sometimes you might make a stupid hire, and if you're the broker, you're now liable for that. And frankly, my family matters more to me than an ego of, I could run my own brokerage. Kate has her reasons, and that's great, but I'm just saying for me, someone else can have the liability, and go join a brokerage where you can grow a team and they'll support you in whatever you want, but you don't have the liability.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Okay, so any other questions? Yes.
Mine.
Chris. He knows the answer.
Hang on, hang on.
Meet a more
Hold-
intelligent man than that man right there named Chris. Chris, wave your hand.
Okay.
He can school you a million times over on that.
But it's not, it doesn't affect single-family homes at this point.
So
Absolutely.
okay.
Your time value of money is completely screwed, and your skewed. That's what I meant.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Your time value of money is skewed, so the return and the appreciation when you look at your chart of your numbers and your net out, it changes everything. And Trump actually came out and was like, "You're kind of messing with investors." It's absolutely going to change who wants to spend that money.
Can I?
So just pay close attention, right? You got to pay attention to those details. Oh, we need to make sure you guys stick with the microphones, please, because we are recording this whole event, and it will be available for you guys to watch after the event.
Real quick, on behalf of California Association of Realtors, most of your board of directors are on the CAR board. We go next week to the legislative meetings. And so, one, I urge you to get involved because these are the things that are impacting your business. And this is exactly her standing up right there is why you want to get involved. Because if you don't, if you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem, right? You're complaining about, oh, why did this happen to us? Well, where were you when we were voting, right? Get out there, get involved. But next week, make sure that at the following Tuesday that you're at the meeting, Tuesday morning meeting, because your CR directors will bring you back that information accurately, not hypothetical, not what's going to maybe happen, but exactly how it's going to impact us based on your realtor party who's there on your behalf.
Fantastic. And one thing I did want to bring up too is I'll tell you the most valuable thing that I did in my career was I attended everything. I attended classes, I attended workshops, I attended the CAR meetings, the NAR meetings. I went to every kind of coach you can imagine, every kind of class, and I soaked up that information. And what you'll see many times in these events is some of us have been around a long time, and you see some of the best agents, Natalie's a great one back there, who they're always here. And you think, well, they've been doing it so long, they already know everything, right? But we're constantly getting educated and constantly learning about what is happening and what's going on in the market. And those agents that you see attending these meetings and classes are the same ones that you will see years and years later because they've survived this market, right?
When you get those emails from PCAR or SAR or CAR about, hey, can you send this to your congressman, and can you say something about being an independent contractor, about look at what's happening with Uber and with DoorDash and with all these companies now where they want to make everybody an employee. So just keep in mind that your boards are fighting for you and your right to do business as an independent contractor. So when you get those emails, don't just hit delete because you got 4 other emails in there, but make sure you respond and participate in making sure that your job stays the way it is.
Absolutely. Great point. Someone else have something to say back there? No?
Well, I was just going to agree with Marguerite. As we're slowing down just a bit. You guys should all see this as an opportunity. This allows us to be able to go to all these meetings, all these trainings. If you don't have an open house booked for that weekend, you should be out there attending other people's open houses, seeing how they're doing it. Find out what's important with these towns. For example, here we are in the town of Rockland. What is the number one reason people are moving here? The schools. Do you know your school's rating? Do you know where the district is? Do you know if you live by Sierra College, your kid's going to be driving 20 minutes over to Whitney? Do you know where those lines are? So take this, little bit, while we are slowing down just a bit, take it as an opportunity to learn stuff outside of real estate, inside your community, that's going to make you more powerful, especially because, for example, for me, 85% of my business comes from the Bay Area. They don't know anything about this area at all. I'm originally from there. I moved here not knowing one person. I didn't even know anything about my town of Rockland that I moved to. But now it's so easy for me to convert any buyer or seller to move over here or invest over here because I know the community around me. So take this opportunity while you can, please.
Fantastic.
And you can, sorry, Marguerite, you need a Cindy in your life so that when you're on your way to a listing appointment, you're not familiar with the area. She's on my speed dial. I'm like, Cindy. And I name the neighborhood. I'm like, tell me everything. So we need each other.
I'll tell you something and we'll grab your question here, that I'm super proud of Mitzi having done, is she created a Facebook thing called Lincoln Live. And if you guys are not following it, I encourage you to go to watch. She created Lincoln Live where she does a Facebook Live interview with somebody in the community every single week. And it's gone from being kind of just her with this like shaky phone doing it to now kind of a full-fledged production. She has interviewed just about everybody in the community who owns businesses or who are significant in the community. She does not promote real estate on it at all. She simply does it as a way of reaching out and connecting. But I can promise you she's gotten a ton of business out of it as well. And it has become the go-to thing for many people in the community to watch. So who had a question back here? You?
So I wanted to touch base on coaching. A couple of you mentioned getting coaches. And I have thought about it myself, but there are so many coaches out there, especially real estate coaches. So how do you find which one's best for you, which one's legit, all that kind of.
So you have to figure out if you are looking for simply just like someone like Marguerite to look to who can give you how to structure your business, or are you looking for somebody like a life coach, which is where I right now I have a life coach. But I've had a Buffini coach for many years. It will evolve. So it depends on where you're at. If you just don't know what to do every day when you get up as a realtor, which is the biggest problem that y'all are going to have getting into this business, because you're your own boss and your boss is kind of lazy in your mind, find someone that's going to give you the structure. You don't necessarily always have to pay. Guys, if you're new in this business, don't spend a heck of a lot of money. There's so many resources. Get a coach when you can afford a coach. Have 3 to 6 months of revenue in the bank. But there's so many people out here that will be happy to help you. So figure out what you really want. What is it you really want? When I needed help understanding how to structure my team and doing referrals with them, I went to Buffini Coaching. But ultimately, I have a life coach now because I needed to get my life together in a different way. So just find out what you're looking for. But there's so many out there. And then when you look at the list, call the people you know and say, what do you know about them?
I'll tell you the most important thing about coaching is to be coachable, right? So for many of us, we say we want to coach, and then the coach tells us what to do, and we go, oh, that won't work for me, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to do that, right? What is more important to me than coaching is accountability. Because the interesting thing that I find is that it's kind of like that, saying, what does the bear do in the woods if no one's around, right? So you will let you will let yourself down, but you'll never let other people down, right? Mm-hmm. And so having some sort of an accountability partner, and I mean someone who's going to like hold you to the fire, not someone say, oh, girl, that's okay, maybe tomorrow, right? Like, I mean, you need someone who's going to hold you accountable. The best results I've ever gotten have been when I had a very strong coach who said, if you don't show up, you're writing a check. And I had to write big checks to big charities for not showing up, right? And that made it, I learned more in those coaching situations than any others. But for many of you, you do need a coach, but you need someone who's going to tell you how it is, not sugarcoat it and not do anything like that. I started out with Joe Stump by referral only back in the day. and was in that coaching program, honestly, for 12 years. I was also in a coaching program called The Core, which is probably where I learned the most because they beat me up bad, bad. But I had to do what they say because I was going to do whatever I wanted to do. So I would say that's super valuable.
Yeah, I recently just got a coach, and I think our scariest thing is that commitment of the money. It is not cheap to get a coach at all. You pay for what you get. And it took me months. I literally interviewed so many coaches for 6 months. And there will become a time where you go, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I've been waiting for. And that's when you know that coach is the perfect one for you. And also when, like Margaret said, when you're spending that money, you're going to do what they say because you are not going to let that be a loss to your family. And it's something, if you're thinking about it, save for it now. We are fortunate enough that we knew my husband was having a bonus coming up and we just took that bonus money. We go, there's 2 years of coaching. Now we could do it. But it took me 5 years to get there because what I thought of, I learn from Brent every day. I learn from the God of real estate. Why do I need a coach? Then you get a coach and she's like, oh my gosh, how do you produce that much by yourself? You're going to kill yourself one day. You cannot do this anymore at this rate. You're getting older. We need the help. So,
She's like 22, so,
I wish. And even us, us three are on the same team and we help each other so much, but yet we all three have different coaches because we're all looking for something different. Even though we run our businesses very similar, our coaches are not similar at all.
We have a man over here who has a question. This is my handsome husband, Joe.
I just thought the men should speak up too. I've been in the industry for a couple of years myself. And we have... Look at this hair. Yeah. It's 33 years with her. There's affiliates in the room. They want to know, how do the top producers pick the affiliates they work with, the lenders, the title companies, the escrow officers, insurance companies?
I'm going to answer that one first, and then you guys can roll in. I will tell you, to be honest with you, most of the time it has been who's been on the other end of a deal. And how they behaved and how they handled themselves, how they communicated. I will tell you, communication is the most important thing. Tell me the bad news. Don't sugarcoat it. Tell me what's really going on. And be there when I need you. Show up even if maybe you're not on the deal. I have some really great people that I work with who've gone way far above and beyond to make sure things happen. But I also had a company that I worked with for 10 years, and their business started slacking. And I went to them, and I said, hey, what's going on? Like, I'm one of your best clients. Oh, yeah, we'll fix it. Oh, yeah, we'll fix it. Oh, yeah, we'll fix it. I finally left, right? So you have to pay attention. When there's a problem, speak up. Tell us what's going on, and that's how you will get business. From me, I have long-time relationships. I'm not likely to change unless something goes wrong. But for the most part, it's people who've gone way far above and beyond, even when they didn't get asked.
For me, my affiliates are people that I personally use myself first. So like my carpet guy, he is not the cheapest, but he is like a chemist. I will never use anybody else. I will never refer anybody else. My lender, all of them are my great, great friends, right? So those are people that I would personally use. We have like interests. We're similar personalities. Anybody that I'm referring, I make sure I personally can stand behind them because it makes you look not good when things go wrong, and that does happen. So that's just personal connection.
For me, it's people who go above and beyond, and I get a lot of calls where people say, what can I do for you? I have no idea. I mean, I honestly don't know I couldn't tell you a list of what you're supposed to do in your job. I know what I'm supposed to do in mine. So if you're going to talk to me, bring value to me about these are some of the things that I can do for you that will increase your business, or these are some of the ways that I can support you in your business, and show me what you can do. But if you ask me what I need, I don't know what I need, quite frankly, because I'm overwhelmed with everything else going on. So you have, and the other piece for me is communication. I need to be able to get you. And I really don't care if you make a mistake. It's how you act, because you're going to. I do all the time. So I just need to know, is it a point the finger thing when it happens, or is it, wow, you know what, I screwed that up, and take accountability and let's fix it as quickly as possible. So for me, it's staying on top of it and getting in front of any issues and then coming to me from a place of value.
What I want want to say too is I don't really want to babysit your job. I'm busy enough doing what I'm doing. So the easier you make my life and the less hassle you bring to my life, the higher the odds are that I'm going to work with you. But I mean, I've had several situations where, I've had to step up and I've had to figure it out and I've had to go do stuff, and that you won't get my business again. So those are things to think about. But I also think it's really important that we are kind and respectful to our affiliates and the people, because they do work hard. But it's hard when you've been in business a long time. You've worked with a lot of people in many situations. And I'm not a hopper. I'm not someone who bounces from person to person to person. I want to make sure that I'm able to stand behind whoever I recommend and refer. So.
It's a partnership. All these vendors out here are people that they are part of your business, that we have their cell phones, that we could call them Saturday night at 10 o'clock and they're going to pick up and answer our question. Whether it's going to benefit their business or not, they're always going to be there for you. You've got to get that team. I feel it's a two-way streak. Whatever we give, we kind of expect something back. I've had to drop a lot of lenders because they were not, they just wanted all the deals, but they didn't want to give me any back. And so I had to cut them out of our lives. You want somebody when times are getting hard. Just my lender over here, Alicia Blackwood, she's on coaching right now. But, one day I was like, oh my gosh, all 6 are closing. I have nothing in the pipeline. What am I going to do? She drove over to my house, picked me up, said, put a bunch of business cards in your pocket. We went to the closest shopping center and we went around and we introduced us to all the local companies, which DEA Fitness, that's how I actually met them. And we become a great partnership. We support each other's businesses. We throw the best darn customer appreciation nights there. We do Zumba nights. And that's what it takes, is getting that partnership. They should be your partner. They're not just someone to refer. They're partners.
But keep in mind, and Maribel, you can answer this one too if you want to. The thing that you want to keep in mind is, again, you never know who's going to be on the other end of a deal. Right? So I've had plenty of listings where the lender for the buyer is somebody who I've not had a great experience with in the past. And I am not shy. I will say, look, last time we did a deal, it didn't go so well. So how's it going to be different, right? Or what are you going to do? You never know who's going to be on the end of that deal, and that's your time to shine. Make those deals go so smooth and so great that when that deal comes up again and you're on the other end of that deal, I'm excited to see, hey, that particular lender or that particular escrow officer is on the other end of the deal. Oh, I've worked with them before. Sure, that's awesome. Let's put a deal together.
Just straight and to the point, they have to be ethical. They have to be a leader in their industry, in what they do, and communication. And that's just very important to me because, like Darcy was saying, if something goes wrong and you referred them, it's going to fall back on you. So I will never refer anyone unless I have personally used them or know them well enough in the industry because clients have used them or whatever.
Awesome.
Yeah, whether it's a pest company, a lender, escrow, whatever it may be, they have to be ethical and they have to be a leader in whatever it is they do.
Elizabeth wanted to add something onto it, and then Krista. Grab the microphone, please.
Don't be afraid to set expectations up front. Even with agents that you're working with out there, there's an agent that has a reputation in the Sacramento area as being completely cray-cray. And so when I got multiple offers and hers was by far the best, and so I thought, okay, do I go this way? Because I've heard so many things. So I thought, I gave her a call and I said, hey, so-and-so. It's interesting, sometimes our reputations precede us. So I just wanted to let you know this is how I operate. I'm going to serve you a notice to perform 2 days before every contingency removal is due, because I want to keep the timeline moving forward. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to tell you up front, it's not to be malicious or it's not to be taking control. It's just that these particular sellers I have and myself were very punctual. So I'm just going to set this up front so you know the expectations. And we had the smoothest, most perfect transaction. Everything went great. I had no issues with her. And my phone was going nuts. Did you have any issues? Did you have any issues? Everybody's calling me, how did that go? I'm like, it went great. We had no problems. And we've done like 6 deals together and they've all been perfect. And at the beginning of every deal, I set that expectation. So set that expectation with your vendors, set that expectation with your everybody that is in your business, and then they'll just know how to work with you.
And I'll tell you, too, and we only have about 10 more minutes, so I will say that I really like people that hustle, that work as hard or harder than me. So I want to know that they are doing everything possible to make things happen. I want to know that, and I want to see it by their actions, not just what they say. Because I don't know if you watch Facebook, right? Every lender's never had a deal closed late, never had a deal denied, right? Every real estate agent's never had, never lost a listing or, had a buyer go sideways on them. And we know that's not true, right? So the reality is that you want people who are going to go above and beyond, who are going to step up and get it done is the most important. So I have one last fun question. Any other questions from the audience real quick? No? So what do you got to say, Mark? This is Mark Fletcher with Auburn Moving. Thank you for the great job on the food, by the way. And I want to thank all of our sponsors. Some of them have had to leave, but all of our sponsors have been amazing in making this happen. And so we really appreciate them. It couldn't happen without them. So my last question for the panel, and we'll see what they have to say, is what has been the funniest thing that has happened to you in real estate? And I'll start. I was walking through a listing that was vacant, and I'll tell you the clean one. And I was walking through, and they went through the sliding glass door, and I thought they left it open, and they had closed the sliding glass door. So I walked smack into it so hard, I thought I broke my nose. And my nose literally started bleeding, and there was white carpet in the house. And literally blood shooting everywhere out of my nose. It was horribly embarrassing. It was pretty funny in hindsight, not so funny in the moment. But there you go. All right. How about you, Darcy? We'll start in the back.
Okay, you guys are going to love this one. So I'm going to show my clients this beautiful home in Serrano, $1.4 million. I love that, love that price range. And my son was sick, so he had to stay home with me. He's 3 years old. I'm like, I got this. I've showed lots of property with kids, going to meet my client there. We show up, and I'm kind of haggard, because I got a sick 3-year-old. And she gets out of her Mercedes, and she's fabulous. This agent is fabulous. She's beautiful in a suit, and I'm like, dang it, all right, I got my kid on my hip. I'm like, sorry, trying to, and here comes my client, and she's cool, and we're going through the home, and my son falls in the pool. Straight up falls in the pool, and I get him out, everything's okay, and he's like, I gotta be naked. So we have to take all of his clothes off, and now I have a naked wet kid.
A naked 4-year-old.
In a $1.4 million home. Like, they bought it, they ended up buying it, which is great, but you have to pull some good tricks out of your hat on that one.
You got to have fun with it. Who else has a good story?
So one time I was showing property to my clients, and the kids, they're all running around because it's a country property. And then they decide to come back and tell us, hey, we went number 2 in the bathrooms. Well, the water was shut off at this property. So then we had to figure out how to take it out and where we were going to dispose of it and hence why you should always have toilet paper in your car, like you said. And then also one time I did have one of my investors, I turned around for 1 second, and I turned around and he was buck-ass naked in the pool of my listing. And I knew, I said a bad word. I knew I couldn't do it. And I knew my sellers were next door. And I'm like, please don't come home. Let's just say he was fired that day.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good one.
Okay, well, mine don't seem very crazy compared to the poop in the toilet. But I mean, more than once I've shown the wrong home.
So I set up an open house in the wrong house one time, and the sellers came home. That was embarrassing.
Okay.
My God.
So I always I learned, don't just go by, there's the sign, that must be the house. But one time I went in because I thought it was vacant home. Again, it was the wrong home. I'm not thinking that. We go in, and this poor seller has a full-blown panic attack yelling at us. And I was like, oh no, I just already knew the listing agent is now going to have to deal with this. And so I sent flowers to everybody. It was horrible. But then my clients, I was so embarrassed.
All right, quick stories, 30 seconds so we can get through.
All right, I can't think of anything super funny, but I'll tell you, yesterday I went on a listing appointment, and it's a divorce situation. Husband wants the divorce, wife does not want the divorce. Well, the husband failed to tell the wife I was coming. So not only was he was 20 minutes late. So he says, "Oh, you're there. Is there a truck in the driveway?" I said, "No, it's just me." He said, "Great, go into my backyard and peek around and everything." So I'm looking around the
this can
backyard,
only go
I'm
bad.
seeing everything I need to see. So I go back and I sit in my car. He shows up. We go in the house. I'm talking to him in his living room, and all of a sudden, this woman comes, "Who is this?" And I'm like, "Hi, I'm Mitzi Dela Cruz," and she's like, "You need to get out of my house." And it, I kid you not, it was crazy. It just reminds me how crazy this business is. Oh, yeah. It's never the same thing every day. So,
How many of you have walked in on someone naked? Yeah. Yeah, we've all just about walked in on that situation. Okay, Victoria.
So we just closed one last week. I'm going to get the video of this. I'm going to put it on Facebook because it's going to make me famous and I can quit real estate. So we had this family, a different culture in West Sacramento, and the father had died, so the mother was in control, and we got a full price offer. I mean, everything was beautiful. She would only allow inspections between 9 and 9:15, so they had to be that quick. And I mean, it took everything we could to get the buyers just to get their little inspections. But the roofer showed up, which she knew he was coming, and this woman was this high. She comes marching out of the house, screaming in her language, gets the hose out, and she's hosing the roofer down. And the roofer's up there videotaping her because she's screaming. And I just walked to my car.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Taylor, good job.
I was showing a house, and there was this beautiful white cat on the counter, and we left the showing. We came back for a second. We saw the cat again. My client was super happy, told her kids, "There's the cat again." The cat had an accident on the carpet. I sent an agent a message. It was like, "Hey, you might want to clean this up if you have another showing." She called me and said, "There's no cat," flipped out. "Why are you letting strays in this house?" I'm like, "This cat's beautiful. Somebody paid some money for this cat." No, I'm like, "There's a litter box." She's like, "No." She lost her mind on me saying that I was letting strays in this listing, and then I had to go back and kick their cat out. I was like, "This cat belongs to somebody. I'm not kicking this cat out." It was horrible. I called my client. I was like, "There was a cat, right? There was a cat the first time. I'm not losing it, am I?" And she's like, "No, I know that cat. Yeah, I'm not losing it."
That's awesome. Okay, we have 8 minutes left, so let's make it quick, ladies.
Okay, so I went to show this house that was not my pick in Auburn because it had this really crummy driveway that went up behind the house, and then there was a garage. Well, I pull in, and my clients are pulling in right behind me, and I see the garage is open, and I'm like, "It's vacant. I'll just go in the garage. No problem." So we go show the house, and they're behind me, and they're trying to negotiate this thing. So I'm in the driveway pulling out too, and I've got my window down, and I'm like, "There's something behind you. Be careful." And I hit my gas, and it hits a paint can and goes all on me, on the inside of my car, on my shoes, everywhere. And I'm like, they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine. Keep driving."
That's awesome.
I have so many, I'm almost drawing a blank. So do you guys want the meth heads or do you guys want the poop? Meth heads. The poop one's actually really good. I may have to try to throw it in there. I went to go show a property one time, and the daughter had inherited the house. Her mother had passed away, and they were clearly drug addicts. And I go in. There's little kids riding around on tricycles. They're taking all of her paperwork and belongings, throwing it into the fireplace. We've got black smoke everywhere. And then she's like, "Oh, this is my boyfriend." He's, "Yeah, I just got out. He's chopping up, I don't know if it was meth, coke, crack." And there's little kids going around. He's like, "Would you like some?" I'm like, "No, that's okay, but thank you." This was in Arden Park. I'm like,
That's awesome.
so I have many stories like that, but
Yeah, we all have a lot of them.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. And if anybody's interested, ask me about the puppy poop story another time.
All right, 4 more, and then we have a couple drawings, and we'll get you guys out of here.
I'll be really quick. So there used to be, my office moved, but there used to be a fountain at the previous office. And my client's daughter dropped her Barbie in the fountain. And of course, I'm going to be the person that, says, "Oh, I'll get it for her," because it did. And as I reach out to get it, I fall in. And I mean, I fell in completely. completely. So, yeah. It was embarrassing.
See, we have a hazardous job, don't we?
Okay, 2 trip and fall stories. First story, I go to meet my inspector, and I want people to get this on video because they miss it all the time. I go to get the lockbox, key out of the lockbox. I step into the new bark and fall face first, trip, make a nose plant, and there's like a nose face plant there. And I'm looking around, I'm bleeding from here, my knees are bleeding. I'm like, no one got that? No one freaking got that.
Hey, watch that.
So 2 days later, 2 days, no joke later, I'm in Newcastle at one of my listings, and the seller is kind of a jerk. He's an ex-cop and hates people. But I was like super friendly and bubbly, and I'm sure he hated that even more. So I got there, and he offered me an egg from his chicken. He's like, here's a warm egg. Oh, okay, thank you. I'm walking up the stairs in front of him in a dress and heels, and I trip, and the egg goes flying. Splats. My skirt comes back over my head. I'm like, do I have underwear on? Do I have underwear on? Yes, I do.
That's awesome.
Your guys' stories are way better than mine.
Okay, quick ones because we got a quick minute.
Mine is kind of similar to Krista's. So I'm with my clients and we're all in the same car and I'm driving and we're talking and the husband is a officer for Rockland, and so we have a lot of common things, and so we're just chatting, and I get on a street and I see a sign and I just go to pull up to the house, and I full on go in the door, and I'm like, where is the lockbox? It says it's right here, it's not here, what is going on? And then I look back at my clients and I'm looking at the address and I'm going, oh God, it's the wrong house. They start dying laughing and they're all, Jen, is it your first day? This was only a couple years ago. It was not. So the entire rest of my transactions with them, they were amazing people. I love them. But literally anything, they were like, Jen, is it your first day?
There you go. Awesome. All right. Last but not least, Elizabeth.
I had an agent tell me when I was going to show a house, she said, there's a very friendly dog. His name's Harry. So she goes, are you good with dogs? I said, oh, I'm great with dogs. Dogs love me. She said, oh, then it won't be an issue. I said, okay, great. So we get to the house and my clients are behind me and I walk in and there's a cute little dog. And I'm in the kitchen putting my card down and Harry comes up to me and starts humping my leg intensely. I couldn't get him off. And I kept saying, I love dogs, and they love me. So there we go.
That's fantastic. All right, so let's thank our panel. We're super grateful to have all of you guys. Thank you. We have a couple things real quick. I wanted to announce that we have tomorrow, the 20th, we have a Realtor Safety with the Young Professional Network class that is here at PCAR. So I strongly encourage you guys. They're going to have the sheriff and a number of other things. This is vitally important, you guys. Many of us who've been around for a while, we've got some great funny stories. We also have some near misses that could have been tragic. So please pay attention to the safety and come for that. I'm going to give you one last quote, and then we'll do our raffle. This is my favorite quote and has been on a poster in my office since the day I started in real estate. And I'm always reminded of this when I'm having a tough day. It says, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I have failed over and over and over and over again in my life. That is why I succeed. Michael Jordan. So keep that in mind. Every one of us have got a lot more failures probably than successes, but it's why we've been successful, because we just keep doing it. So we have some quick raffles. I want to say a huge thank you guys to all of our sponsors who've been here today, all of the great support people who've helped us make this event what it is. Did you guys all have a great time? I hope you all got some good takeaways from it today, and we'll probably be doing this again hopefully soon.